Man, it just does not like this file.
Which PowerPoint's that, Eric? What PowerPoint you trying to get ready?
It's Ted's PowerPoint
Capital
presentation.
facilities? Yeah, okay.
But it's been done on like 3 different things, and I'm trying to convert it back to Mac now,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't like this file.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the late start. We had a few technical difficulties, but now we're on board. Welcome to the March 21st meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We're at the Town Hall. And to start every meeting, we always announce that the meeting's being taped and broadcast via cable television. We also start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if everyone please stand. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda tonight is a request for a exemption under Chapter 268A, Section 20B, under the Recreation Commission contract. We have the father-daughter dances coming up, and there's a member that's of the Finance Committee and the Fields Committee that's also going to be doing the photography work for the dance. So he has to get permission under the exemption disclosure that we have. It's Bob Priestley, who we all know well, does all the log of the photography work here in town. He's also done this father-daughter dance in the past, and I don't see too much discussion on it. It's just a formality we have to go through. I don't, my board members have any discussion with it, about it? For it?
I think he's always done a great job for many years, even going back to when we were both on the board, Chris. So he's absolutely, a great person for the job. So I'll make a motion to approve Bob Priestley's Mass General Law, Chapter 26A, Section 20B, Recreation Commission contract.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next item is a update from our Capital Facility Advisory Committee. We have Ted Caswell here tonight. The slip of the tongue. Ted's come around the corner.
You gotta say this is postponed.
Oh, you're right. The second item on our agenda was another exemption, but that did not get filed in time, so we're going to address that at our next meeting. Again, so the next item we're going to discuss, Capital Facilities, Ted Caswell, our chairman.
Good evening. Ted Caswell with the CFAC. Prior to getting into a little presentation which we've put together for the BOS over the last year or two, we were going to have the potential buyer for the farm come in and speak to us today, as well as at the town meeting. So I wanted to introduce Tim Doyle, who represents the buyer. How do we want to do this?
I'll start and I'll have Matt jump
Okay.
in.
Tim Doyle.
Thank you. Hi. Hi,
Good
Tim.
evening. As Ted indicated, I represent an individual that's interested in purchasing the Center Farm. This individual is actually, should the town vote in April to sell Center Farm, they're ready, willing, and able to go. The intent of the seller is to, the buyer is to purchase the property for their own owner occupation, for their family, for his family. We've gone over quite a bit. I've done quite a bit of due diligence on the property. He's ready to go. He's put together a team that includes a historical architect, and due diligence is pretty much completed at this point. And I'll have his architect jump in, talk to you a little bit about what we think is going to happen. We have some paper drawings that kind of show you how we're going to manipulate the property. Keeping that in mind, the intent the entire way is to do exactly what the town wanted to do when they voted to purchase the property, and that's to keep its architectural, historical, and cultural significance intact, while also allowing a family to occupy the property. So that's the way my clients approached the project so far. We feel very comfortable that we're going to be able to do that, and at the same time honor the wishes of the town. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Matt Cummings of Cummings Architect from Ipswich. He'll touch upon a little bit about what he's seen so far with the property, what he's done, and where he thinks it can go, in terms of, again, just honoring what the town wanted to do with the property. So here's Matt.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Hey, Matt, welcome.
If you don't mind, can I grab those, Steve? Hopefully I made a copy for everyone. Matthew Cummings, Cummings Architects. So first I'd like to say that the farm property is in great shape. The timber frame's in wonderful shape, and the home is just so nicely done. And it's also very well preserved, both in the barn and the original base of the house, which is to the right-hand side. We don't intend on changing anything to the right-hand portion of the home, or the barn for that matter at the moment. The facade, front facade that you'll see from the streetscape really won't change at all. There's a connector between the house and the barn, which we are proposing on moving a few doors and taking out there's 2 modern windows and removing them and placing in a historically correct window. That's really about it, other than a historically correct paint job. Same thing with the exterior is there's a few set of wooden French doors we'd like to place in the back that no one would see, and place in some historically correct windows and remove any of the windows that aren't historically correct and replace them with historically correct windows. The client is friends with other clients we have that are just enamored and excited about historic preservation and living in an old home that has very bad heat and hardly any running water. So we're going to try to fix that up a bit in the house. But overall, from the exterior and to a great extent on the interior, the town won't see any difference in the home at all, except that it'll be shinier and painted and look a little bit new just because of proper maintenance.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
So I'll just wrap up real quickly. Should the April town meeting, should the town vote to sell the property, I can say without hesitation that my client is ready, willing, and able to go. You should expect to see an offer that is contingent-free, meaning that we're ready to go. And we're looking forward to hopefully having a successful meeting, a town meeting, and getting this property out of the hands of the town into the hands of my client and accomplishing the goal that the town set out to do, which I think will happen. So I'm happy to take any questions, if you have any. If not, that's just kind of where we are, and I just wanted to let you know that there is somebody out there. I think Ted will agree with me when this came under the capital facilities purview, that we said there had to be somebody special out there to buy the property. There's very few people that are willing to buy an older house, that have the wherewithal to renovate it, to bring it up to current standards, and the town's fortunate enough to find a town resident that's willing to do it, somebody that's lived in the town his entire life, and is ready to go. So if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to take them. If not, we would ask for your support to sell the property in April.
Well, thanks, Tim. Appreciate that. Obviously, the big question here is if the buyer is certainly aware of our historic preservation restrictions that are on the house, and he's willing to purchase the house with the restrictions that are in place now.
I'll say that we're willing to purchase the house with restrictions. As Matt and I start to go through those restrictions, they're pretty burdensome, and I think the best way to describe it, the way Matt and I kind of concluded, is there's a difference between a historical restriction for Abe Lincoln's house and a historical restriction for the Center Farm. And I think if you look at the restrictions that are currently drafted, they're more towards preserving Abraham Lincoln's house than preserving the Center Farm. So having said that, we will absolutely take it with restrictions. The current draft that is out there is probably not going to work for us. But we will certainly take restrictions that, again, go back to what I talked about originally, preserving the cultural, historical, and physical appearance of the building. And we will certainly go there. We will certainly maintain the exterior, which I think was talked about a lot at that June town meeting, is preserving the facade, make sure it's not compromised. We're more than willing to go there. In terms of, if you take a look at the other language in those restrictions, some of them are really, really burdensome and really cuff a homeowner's ability to really operate the house as their own home. Because almost every time you're coming back to the town, either you guys or the historical commission looking for approval to change a window, fix a clapboard, make some kind of what we would call routine maintenance if it were our own home. And certainly we don't want to have to be doing that every time something pops up when we're waiting for somebody from the town to come out and take a look at the property and say, yeah, it's good to go.
Sure.
So to that extent, I think we would look to limit the scope of those, limit the scope of the preservation agreement that's currently proposed, but certainly would continue to respect what the spirit of that restriction is.
I'm sure we could discuss that
Yeah.
if we get to that point.
Yeah.
And that'd be
Yeah.
great. I do see that some of the minor changes he wanted are actually improvements to the facade, and I certainly don't have any initial problems with the way that you're trying to move a couple doors and windows around. It actually, having a modern window in a line of 5 or 6 windows just doesn't look right in the first place, so I don't think there's any issue with that. And I understand Mr. Cummings is a historic architect, and you've also talked about working with a builder that's worked on historic homes and is a specialist also in historic, so
Yeah, so I'd say,
that's certainly,
just sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but our team is not the pump mat, but the pump mat, the team is, that is their, right in their wheelhouse, historical preservation. And I think, when my client came to me, there was, a reason why they picked Matt and a reason why they talked to a certain builder, and it was to, again, can't say it enough, but preserve the historical and cultural impact that Center Farm has in this town. So
Great.
that's where we're headed. That's why the team was put together the way the team was put together. Not looking for any shortcuts, just looking to make the house modern on the inside and keep its historical impact in the exterior intact.
sure, great. Any questions?
Scott, have you done any work in the tunnel infill on any historic homes or older homes that we could look at?
Yeah, right up the street, there's a pretty little, well, actually not little, but a white farmhouse that has a red barn attached right up here on Main Street.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sizable project we just finished. And we're doing phase 2, which is the barn. Somebody previously had purchased the house and removed the windows and exterior doors and all the finishes. And my client had purchased it, and we put all the stuff back. So, and which isn't too uncommon,
Yeah.
you know. With our 30 projects we do a year, probably 20 of them are historic, whether that's an estate, essentially, like this, or it could be a simple repair job on a house sometimes. They're always for private properties, and they're always for historic homes, very familiar to this. We've got a wonderful website, and you can certainly take a look at that, and it's got the addresses on it, and it has a lot of projects in it. I would say that, too, is we're pretty intense about everything we do, to the extent where we would look at every door, every doorknob, and every hinge. And we would actually document its condition as an example and come to a conclusion whether it's in its original location, or maybe the hardware is not on that original door, and whether it was actually on that door over there and what period it was done at, including the timber frame and every single historic portion of the home, and document its condition. So we're not the type of architects you call to simply get a set of plans to get a building permit. We're the type of architects you call when you're very intense as well about what it is that you want to do. And that's who these particular people are. So that's one project that certainly I think everybody knows of that we worked on.
Not to say, I know this was one of the, I know when I voted for this in town meeting, one of my thoughts was to get this back into private hands, because I know the cost that we would incur. I know we discussed this the last Board of Selectmen's meeting, but upwards of about a $2 million investment in this property of the town of Linfield to hold it. But I think, this is something I was hoping would happen, is we'd have an architect look at the historic aspect of this property and maintain it, and I really can't tell from the before and after photos that you've done much change. You really maintain the significance and the
Yeah.
outside structure
Yeah.
of the building. Done a great job.
Thank you. I think it's one of the things we do is we try to ask ourselves, what would it be like if the person who had originally built the house looked at the job that when we're done with it, and would they notice any changes or not? Would they feel as though they've just come home and walk inside the house? And if it feels that way, I think that we've succeeded quite a bit. And the streetscape is very important to my clients. They're town people. They've spent their whole life here, and that's one of the main reasons why they're buying the house. Sort of speaking for them right now, but and some of our clients are that way, and it's very, very common for us to take a house that's on a main street and preserve the streetscape, if not sometimes the neighborhood, by doing so. And this happens to be one of those projects. It's a very special one, and it's very important for Linfield, and the clients know it, and we know it as well.
Thank you.
Could you maybe tell us a little bit about what provisions and the restrictions you would not be interested in following? Because if we all recall, people came out in droves to buy this property.
I'll just touch upon one, Tom, that I think kind of goes to my Lincoln Center Farm.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt can jump into if he feels as though it's necessary. But if you just go to, I don't know if you have them in front of you, but page 2, Grantor's Covenants. It talks about the Secretary of Interior standards for treatment of historical properties with guidelines for preserving, rehabilitating, restoring, reconstructing historic buildings. Okay? That one truly governs everything that happens with that property. Okay? From painting an interior wall to moving a door to replacing a window. And so what the cause and effect of that is, when you go to do it, under these guidelines, you need approval from either you guys or the Historical Society. And so, to me, if that property were going to be owned by the town, a Historical Society, I could see where that provision would be applicable. But where it's going to be somebody's home, I have a hard time seeing that every move they make at their home requires an approval of a board. And so, that specific provision is probably, that would be one that we'd be asking to get out from under. It's too burdensome to a private purchaser. It almost makes probably the property not purchasable. It's just what you're paying for it and what you have to do. It just doesn't.
It certainly has to be an act of love.
Yeah.
To maintain the outside in pristine condition and
Yeah.
have a rather comfortable interior is very understandable.
Right.
This would affect the offering price, I'm assuming,
If that provision were in there,
if it was out of there?
if that provision's in there, it probably would affect the whole transaction.
Okay,
I would say probably the transaction, it might be a non-starter.
okay. And if it's out, how does that substantially affect the price, the offering price?
It doesn't. It's a question of whether it's a non-starter or if we put a bid in. I think that's truly what it comes down to.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, the way I took the town, the votes that we had over this was people wanted to keep it and preserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the Historical Commission really took the lead on that
Mm-hmm.
and was very vocal. So I'd be interested in their input
Sure.
to see how they feel about this.
Yep. And I think that would, if we get to that point, that would probably be something where they would weigh in.
Mhm.
I would think. I don't know. That's going to be up to you guys. But I would say to you, it's not a question of value. It's a question of chilling the transaction completely or going forward.
Mhm.
Would be the best way I could
You
describe
certainly
that.
have an excellent architect, it sounds
Sure.
like, that will take good care of the project and make sure that it's done right, which I think a lot of people would be very interested in.
Right. And so, that's one example on that one. Certainly, we won't know until we get there. So I think any other discussion about it is probably not worth having at this point until the rubber meets the road. And hopefully,
Mhm.
like I said, we'll have your support at the April town meeting. Hopefully we can get get some momentum behind it. And as I said, the client's ready to go and would be interested in getting the transaction done pretty quickly and getting moving. Yep, Matt, go ahead.
We've worked with a lot of preservation agreements before. There's basically sort of two ways to go about doing it. One is for a museum building, and the other one is for a private owner. What we want to do is, and the client wants this, by the way, is they want a preservation agreement on the property and the home as well.
Mhm.
But it needs to be written in a way that's for a homeowner that allows the general maintenance without changing the character of the house. If it needs to be, or the client desires, whether it's this client or somebody in the future, 100 years from now, wants to change the character of the house, then they need to come see somebody in the government. But when it's maintenance, right, then that's something else. And the conversation will be, to a great extent, well, what is maintenance and what's not maintenance, if that makes sense. And the way it's written right now, you sort of can't put a shovel in the ground without calling the state, and you can't fix the sill of your window and repair it. The way it's written is sort of convoluted and sort of circular without seeing somebody in the town. And, you know, I think that sometimes it's a person who's a contact person that says, nope, that's okay, head of a historic commission or somebody like that, and nope, that's not okay. And what's more in the way that's usually written is more, in a physical sense, descriptive. And at the moment, it's not. So in some particular senses, the client and myself would like to have things that are more literal and more town-orientated rather than state-orientated, which you can imagine would be also in the best interest, we feel, for the town it is, maintaining their own streetscape in downtown.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Tom, I have one question. Is there life expectancy to this deed restriction?
The deed restriction is supposed to be indefinite.
Indefinite, okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Ted?
you.
We're going to have Ted Caswell do a little update on the rest of the capital facilities project. Trying to work out the kinks with the computers and the PowerPoint.
No, it's much better than
Page down, supposed to page.
Hold that for a second. Yeah.
Is there a printed version for us to have?
The technology in this building is going to lead into exactly what I'm going to talk about,
There you
right?
go.
So
There you go.
I know everybody's very frustrated with the technology here in Town Hall. Maybe not the schools, but certainly the Town Hall and some of the other buildings around. So that'll tie into exactly what we're talking about here tonight. Thanks for having me. I am the chairman of the Capital Facilities Committee, Advisory Committee. A couple of years ago, the Board of Selectmen put together the committee for us to basically analyze what we have, come up with a plan as to where we're going, and ultimately execute whatever that plan is all about. I have a long presentation tonight, but I'll shorten it. So I've got the short version going. I will go through it kind of fast. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about the details. I'm not here to get into details. I'm here to tell you guys about what we've done over the last, year or so. I will have hard copies put together and put into your hands shortly. One thing as we go through this tonight, we at the CFAC, we don't have the answers. There are no answers at this point. So at this point, we do know that there are things that are broken. We've got some problems here in town that potentially could have been looked at 20 years ago versus looking at it now. And now at this point, there's a lot of deplorable conditions. People living in, whether it be, a room such as this, town hall, elbow room, storage room. We've got problems with space. We need more space, and we'll go through that. But we do know that there are some things broken, and we're going to have to figure out how to fix it as a town as we go forward. And I'm talking about 20 or 30 years, not next week. So bear with me going through this. Again, the technology here is not all that great. If you can hit those lights, either dim them or off. Hopefully you at home can see these as well. Again, the mission of the capital facilities, and I'm not going to read everything for you, but basically we are an advisory committee. We are put together to analyze the existing capital facilities of the town and recommend proposed recommendations for moving forward, okay? We're here to report our findings and certainly the recommendations back to the town. And certainly we want to be part of the prioritization of the projects as we, move forward into the final phases of what may be, a project. It's certainly a long-term project. The goals, very basic, as I had mentioned. We're setting a big picture for the next 20 or 30 years. People in their households, people in their businesses have a difficult time to plan for 3 years. We're looking out 20. I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult, but it needs to be done. I feel, and the committee feels, that this is the most important piece of Lynnfield's strategic future. And I use the word, or underline the word, strategic, because really it is. I mean, we need to come together as a town and figure out all the pieces together. It's not just the library or just a town hall problem or this problem or throw money at that or whatever. That's not the answer. The answer is to pull it all together and strategically execute. CFAC is only here for buildings. We're not here to fix, the DPW or the school department or anything like that. It's all about buildings in the town, whether we have them, whether we don't, whether we tear them down, whether we restructure them. The bottom line is it's all about buildings. Some of the fun facts in Lynnfield, as you can see, we've got a huge quantity of activity. Boards, departments, committees, town clubs, community links, everything. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here every day, every night. As we know, we put in the Al Merit Center. That place is cooked 5 nights a week, I believe. Probably not Saturday and Sunday, but certainly 5 nights a week. You can't get a reservation over there. Similar to the restaurants either. We've got about 13 buildings, which total, including the schools, about 500,000 square feet. So that's really what we're dealing with, is 500,000 feet. That's a major undertaking, major holdings for any so-called landlord, and that's us. 8 of them are primary buildings, and of the 8, there are 3 or 4 that have the issues. We'll get into that. It's hard to imagine that the new schools are now 14 years old. People are like, wait a minute, I thought they were new. Yeah, they were new. That was 14 years ago. Just, again, kind of a fun fact. Besides the schools, which everybody knows we did about 14 years ago between new and renovated, the newest building was built 52 years ago, and that was this town hall, this building, the police and fire. So the building was constructed in '64. I don't know about you guys, but, what did the world look like back in '64? You might recognize a few things that went on. The man on the moon. It's been a long time. Do we remember these things? Some of us. Why do people come to Lynnfield? I know I came to Lynnfield for the proximity to Boston, but any current resident can pick out one or more of these reasons why they came. It's just a fantastic town. It's just all great reasons to live here. You notice that new buildings aren't on that, but what's happened over the last 20 years? And I only pulled out some of the fun facts for the last 20 years because it's staggering what this town has gone through in 20 years. Never mind 50. I mean, if it was 50, it would be, obviously this list would be a lot longer. But here's some of the big things that hit me, pretty hard. 40% population increase over the last 50 years. It's projected to raise another 18 to 20% over the next 10 years. So we've got literally a 50 to 60% increase over a 50-year period. These buildings, we're still living in these buildings with all this population growth. It's crazy, you know. Over 1,200 homes, condos, apartments, senior units have been added over the last 20 years. Market Street, we all know about. Retail, Route 1 traffic is nuts. Just crazy growth all around. What's interesting is all this growth has happened without anything happening to these buildings. We don't have any additional footprint. We've made do with what we have, certainly, but we have literally zero clearance to do anything further. Linfield and its current conditions, you know, these buildings were not designated, designed or designated how they're being used today. They were designed differently back 40, 50 years ago, and they were certainly used differently, and now we've maximized that use over the last, you know, literally 20, 30, 40 years. Deplorable conditions at the police and fire, and we'll get into that. I've got some slideshows for everybody to see. Town hall and library, overcrowded, just very, very much no space. We're out of space. Senior center, crying for more space, you know, and they do a good job over there, certainly. So moving on to the fire department, and, you know, I had a list that was probably 3 times this. I boiled it down to just some of them. Again, these buildings weren't designed for what's going on in them. Here we are 50 years later. Decon area, we'll see photos of that. Shared office spaces, we'll see photos. You know, it's just kind of, it really, really, really is amazing. And the chief is here tonight. I don't know if you want to say anything, Mike, but he knows, you know. Pictures speak. I mean, tight, look at the distance between the trucks and the gear. How do you get into your gear to get on that truck? There's no room. And never mind if you've got 5 guys all in that aisleway trying to get done. The decon area, I'm surprised OSHA doesn't come in and shut it down. I mean, that's a slop sink. This is where these guys are trying to clean blood off their gear, smoke, whatever's going on. You know, it's kind of deplorable. During snowstorms, the men have to be at the fire station, and I may get this wrong, because they don't have time enough, or the road conditions might not allow them to get to the fire department quick enough. So with that said, they sleep over. We have literally 1 bed. You'll see it on the lower level, and I'm sorry again for the technology, but it's a bed. It's in the corner of an office at the fire department. When there's multiple guys that come in for big storms, last year, for example, they were sleeping not only in the trucks, they were sleeping on the hoses as beds, and they were also sleeping on cots in the truck bays. That's crazy, just absolutely crazy and deplorable. The men's restroom includes not only the restroom facilities, but laundry, lockers, and showers, all in one makeshift room. Very, very bizarre. There's 1 shower stall, and there's only 1 hot water, 1 hot shower, I should say, per 15 to 20 minutes. So, amazing. Decompression chamber, as everybody can see, this is where people get, I don't know, I guess you guys throw people in there if they have the bends or something along those lines.
It's our compressor room. That's where
Compressor.
we fill
Oh, sorry, you're right. There's no women's locker room. There might be 1 restroom for the women. I'm not sure about that, but there might be. I'm assuming there is. But certainly there's no women's locker. Cramped shops. The dispatch is right out of the 1960s. Here are the trucks. Not to mention that this the truck on the right is the size that we have now. It doesn't fit into the bay. There's 2 inches clearance. So if the fire truck goes out during a snowstorm this morning, it can't get out because the snow is heaving the truck up the 2 inches, which will not make the clearance out of it. So that's why you'll see the firemen shoveling out in front of that ladder truck, just so that they can get the thing out of there. They just don't fit. I mean, the left-hand photo was in 1946. There's a big size difference between then and now. I'll get off the fire department. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Police department, The chief couldn't be here tonight, but certainly he sends his best. The current facility was built, as I had mentioned back a long time ago, and it was built and designed and built for about 10 to 12 employees. The occupancy now in the police department is about 30. There's accreditations that they cannot retain. There's the dispatch alone. They can't necessarily control the dispatch in the way in which the police regulations require. Juvenile holding area is located in Lawrence, Mass. We're spending money shipping these folks to another city. We can't use the firing range because it's just outdated. We currently rent other towns' firing range, so we're paying other towns for them to allow us to go in and use their ranges. Makeshift restrooms and locker facilities, you'll see in the photos following. No training room. They currently use the kitchen as kind of a makeshift, similar to the fire department, makeshift everything room, I guess it is. It's everything. Everything goes on in those big rooms. We've got cramped offices. They're tripled up. Security issues between the town hall, the fire department, and the police department. You can actually access the police department through the town hall and through the fire department. It's tricky to make it happen, but it can happen. I mean, that's just doesn't make sense. The reception area only holds about 2 people, so if there's a third person in that reception area, you can't get in. Here's what's even more amazing to me, is if the town hall, once the town hall closes at 6 o'clock, typically p.m., there is not a public restroom in this town. So if somebody's driving by and they've got to use a restroom, they pull into the police department, there's no restroom. There's no public restroom. They can't. Just send them away. Go up to Market Street and go into one of the restaurants or the bars or whatever. Just, again, doesn't make sense. Moving on, I got a kick out of this one. The women's restroom is shared with the prison and the locker room for the women police officers. That's the upper left-hand corner. They're all combined into one room. Absolutely outrageous. Illegal corridors, the size on these, again, the photos are terrible on this technology, but the corridors are not wide enough for ADA regulation or ADA access. The booking room is a 2-person booking room. What if there's a fight at Market Street and we've got to book 10 folks, or at least hold them? We only have 3 cells. If there's 10 folks that we've got to hold, we don't have the room to hold them, so they're going to go to neighboring towns. Right now we have a 2-person booking room. They need a booking room that would be around 10 or 12. 1950s holding cells, say no more. Moving on to the hot, again, similar to the fire department, they've got 1 shower. It's only going to have 1 hot shower every 15 to 20 minutes. There's no locker rooms in the shower room. The locker room on the right-hand side, you imagine putting 15 officers into that locker room? Even 5 is jam-packed, so they have to take their time getting on shift and off shift in that tight makeshift locker room. The everything room we talked about. The upper left-hand corner is what they call a drug evidence room. It's a mailbox with locks on it. So when the drug evidence comes into the police department, they drop the evidence into the mailbox. There's a reason why you're speechless. Same thing in the firearms. There's literally a room with the ammo and firearms tossed into this tiny little room with a little lock on it. I mean, it just unbelievable. Historic firing range, it's not used. It can't be used. We should use it for storage for the town hall. But again, that's kind of repurposing that situation. Again, a combo laundry room, lockers, etc., into the restrooms. And again, that shower I never want to see again. I'll get off the police department, move on to the library. Library's been doing a great job keeping everybody up to date as to what the problems are at the library currently. They've come up with a good plan for whether it be a new building or to repurpose the existing building, whatever it might be. Certainly, we have some issues at the library. The library is one of the oldest buildings in town. It's been added on to makeshift. It's served its purpose certainly through the years, but at this point, it's time to do something about the library. As you can see, there's insufficient parking. We all know that. It's dangerous on Summer Street, getting in and out of your car, going to the library. The overall building is just crowded. Lack of suitable room for whether it be teens, adults, children, doesn't matter. There's just not enough room in that building. Current collections and publications, they're sitting in storage because they can't be, put out for any type of, show. And the staff requires additional work in storage areas. They've done a good job making do with what they've got, The main room we all know about, everybody has to go to that room. Staff meeting on the lower right, there's no place to meet. Everybody stands during a staff meeting. There's poor lighting, poor acoustics, as you know. I think everybody hopefully has been into the library. Moving on to the children's office, try to work in that office, upper left-hand corner. It's just jam-packed. Receiving, I'm kind of kidding, but in the basement, there's a receiving room where they store different materials and propaganda. The children's area on the left we all know about, but it'll only fit 10 to 15 kids. The toddlers area only fits 10 kids, and what about the other 10 kids that are outside of that can't get into the toddlers area because there's no room for them? Squatting room only. Nancy Ryan showing us the sorting room. It's got ductwork at 5 feet above the floor, and you've got a duct underneath it just to sort through whatever they're doing for the day or the week. Makeshift storage is throughout the whole entire facility. Not that the library has anything to do with the stream that is adjacent, but certainly they put up with a lot of the current water problems that continue to plague the library, flooding the basement, flooding ductwork, flooding not so much electric panels, but anything that's in its way of the water, there's problems there, In closing on the library, the CFAC feels as though the library should be the crown jewel of this town. It should be the crown jewel of this town, and it's not, okay? We love the Palladian window, but guess what? That library is not the crown jewel, and it needs to be. Town hall, I don't know if you guys, has anybody been in this room, by the way, the Selectmen room? It's difficult to shift during different presentations in this room. It's dated. It needs to be uplifted, if you will, and make, so the crowd can kind of work through. The building in general is overcrowded. The meeting rooms are small or non-existent. I think there's one meeting room here. Outdated electrical, mechanical, and IT. Tonight's a perfect example. You at home can't necessarily see a lot of this because it's just inferior, systems are inferior. And I think there is handicapped access, but it's certainly very difficult to get handicapped access into this facility. Cold storage down in the lower level, it's jam-packed with products, and again, there's a storage issue, as we know. 6 people living in the planning Concom area. They've recently moved, but certainly it was jammed in there to the point where you can't unroll plans in that facility. Schools, all the schools were built and renovated, like I said, about 14 years ago. In 6 years, we've got some issues with the schools. And when I say that, we have deferred maintenance that should have been certainly put into budgets quite a while ago, but systems are only going to last. So heating, cooling, et cetera, these systems are going to start to break down and really crumble to nothing ultimately after 20 years. Some will last maybe into 25 years, but certainly we've got some major replacements that are going to happen in about 5 to 6 years. This all needs to be planned for. That's what I have for problems. Certainly there are other problems, senior center, et cetera. There's some issues there, but the major issues we just reviewed. The needs not currently serviced now is a community center. And whether we call it a rec center, community center, whatever we call it, we can and should house some of these other issues. Kids hangout area for maybe after school activities, adult rec, studios, scouts, sport clubs, hard court surfaces, some type of summer programs, outdoor recreational. You know, the rec, for instance, the rec right now is doing a great job with what they've got, which really is nothing. They have the schools in the summertime. They've got, you know, they're working out of their houses, they're doing what they can. There's no center for them to utilize. So I feel as though we certainly have we're not being serviced now with some type of community center, if you will. Imagine if we had some type of space for a cultural center or a townscape or meeting space, mothers groups, town clubs or other. You know, it certainly would be fantastic to have some type of space for these folks. We also have repurpose issues or possible repurposing needs. Senior center I mentioned, you know, whether they expand it, you know, they're chock full, they would love more space. Public Works needs more space, as we all know. Historical, I'd like double. Do we have 2 locations for Public Works? Sorry about that. School department wants to be back at town center. They love it where they are, but it's in the wrong location. So they would love to be back in the town center, whether it be under the town hall, whether it be in a repurposed building, we're not sure, but certainly that's what the focus is at this point. Problems to be resolved. And again, if you didn't get the idea, there's some issues with police, fire, town hall, library. Schools are in good shape, but certainly we've got some issues coming there on the maintenance side. Comprehensive long-range maintenance plan was established in 2004, which really must be addressed at this point. We've delayed it. We're only asking for troubles by waiting any longer. So this is going to come into certainly our plan as we move forward. Big thing, how are we going to pay for this over the next 20 or 30 years? CFAC doesn't have any plans right now. We have some ideas, but we need to go to the public for more ideas. We need to go to FinCom to figure out how we can afford or what we can afford to do. First, we had new schools. We got fields. Now it's time to take care of the infrastructure of the town. This is just a quick square foot analysis. It shows, you know, some of the buildings that we've talked about, police, fire, library, the existing square footage of each facility, the current square footage required by adding whether it be meeting rooms, training facilities, et cetera, and then the net square footage which we would theoretically start to add towards. It totals about 37,000 square feet, which is about double from what it is now, just on these facilities. And again, I don't have the answers, but this is some of the analysis we've put together. We've got backup for it, certainly. But it gives everybody an idea as to what we're talking about for square footage. This would be an example of if we were to move forward with any type of facility, and I just use new police and fire as an example. We start out with new police and fire building. We get into certainly the site selection and the relocation, all that once it's all built. And then we would follow back through and repurpose this town hall with that space that would be vacated. So just to give everybody a quick idea on kind of the thought process on how by adding a new facility, we can repurpose the existing facility. We are very, very, very geographically challenged here in Linfield with town-owned land. We have a couple of acres down on South Linfield Fire Station, that whole parking area, the building itself, it's 2.2 acres. The front portion of Reedy Meadow, which does not affect the golf course, is about 7 acres, give or take. And then there's about 40 acres of usable land on the backside of Reedy Meadow, which is now known as the golf course. That's really all the land we have to do any type of growth, okay? So we're extremely geographically challenged. CFAC and the next steps, we will finalize this needs assessment. You get the idea, I'm sure. The intent is to go to the public, hold forums, department meetings, get feedback. We need feedback, wants and needs of the town, et cetera. The intent is to ultimately hire a planning consultant to determine the best strategies for the town, the best use of what we have, the best use of the land that we have. What's the future going to hold for these pieces of the puzzle, and come back with a plan. Ultimately, a long-term plan. Recommend certainly the funds are going to be involved with the school and the maintenance, but we want to apprise and keep the town up to date about the entire process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be another year or two before everything kind of shakes its way out. But it's really not what we have now. It's about what we could have. It's not about what we have now. It's what we could have. And, I'm excited certainly to be involved with that. Some of the timelines, again, CFAC will finalize its needs assessment to the BOS over the next couple of weeks. April to October, roughly, this year, we want to engage a consultant on the initial piece, which is a small step to start that schematic process, and then kind of step through the public forums, the newspapers, and et cetera. We look forward to getting the word out that way. In October of 16, we want to finalize that report back to the BOS and then request funds to engage a real planning consultant, so that we hopefully can afford that to move then forward with the planning process, which would then take another year or so to finalize the solutions and certainly present the plan back to the town meeting. And then certainly the execution, we're talking about 15 years out before we're ultimately executed. I can't imagine what's going to happen next year, never mind 15 years out. But if we've got a plan, I think the town should follow it certainly, and let's get going. So I thank you again for having us. I know we've been silent for the last long period of time, and now that's not the case. So can I answer any questions? Certainly.
Ted, first off, I want to thank you and your committee for all the work you've done so far. Do you feel pretty confident you can come back in October with a more definitive plan to move forward? Is that
You're asking to request funds?
Yeah, at that point, because you have about, what, 20,000 was already appropriated?
20,000 was allocated
Yeah.
Last town meeting, I believe. With that 20,000, we will have somebody on board or a planning professional that and I've started to talk to everybody about this, and certainly they feel they'll go as far as 20 will get us. It's all about conceptual, but we have the answers. We don't know what the questions are. So we need somebody like a planning consultant to come back, ask us the questions. We've got the answers. Let's find the answers and move forward.
Great. Well, this is certainly just to be an update of what you've been doing. We don't expect you to have the answers at all at this point, but we want to make sure that you have what you need to move forward. If you think you can move forward with the 20,000 you already have appropriated, have that consultant that you
For
hired
now,
from now until October.
that'll be fine.
And
Correct.
we'll be in better shape in October. And then at that time, we can start to finalize some sort of financing plan and move forward with that, because we're going to have to look at several different aspects. One big aspect that everybody needs to know is that there's going to be a lot of debt coming off of our debt structure. And some comes off in a couple of years. A lot of it comes off in 2025. So depending on what we look at for a long-range plan, there's some borrowing that'll be available to the town without having any tax implications, which is certainly something we got to keep an eye on pretty strongly. So I've gone over this with Ted many times. I've been at his meetings, so I'd really like to open it up. My board members have any questions or comments?
Thank you for the presentation. Could we get a copy of that presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll forward that to Bob.
The one thing that I know when this committee was established, one of my primary concerns was the creation of a preventive maintenance plan for our buildings. Have you started to look at that yet?
We've utilized the 2004 report.
That the 2004 report is before any of the new schools that we have. So that report.
The report does not include the schools. We could step into that, and again, I'm not necessarily the plan writer, so that could be or should be part of that, certainly the funding, if you will, for that consultant.
Because what's extremely alarming to me is the age of our schools now, which was something I brought up a long time ago, in that we can't wait until it falls apart
Right.
before we start maintaining it. So a lot of what you're bringing up is critical and needs to be addressed immediately. But some of the maintenance issues is something that we don't necessarily need a professional to create this plan. You have a well-capable board that should be able to create some general plan to implement now until we can get a more detailed plan created and implemented in 2 years from now. There's got to be some things that we need to start paying attention to.
We could. I can say that we're talking about one piece of the big puzzle. So, for instance, the schools are one piece, fire department's the same piece. So it should be all executed together.
Well, not really, because the schools, that's something that is relatively new now, that with the little TLC will last a lot longer. We know that we might possibly need major improvements with the police, the fire, and town hall. I think that's two totally different categories. One, we're looking at major work and substantial funds. The other one is, it's a few bucks still, but it's something we could start getting into the budget now to maintain. Like you mentioned, the heating system, the cooling. There's a new cooling system going in at the high school in the cafeteria. Let's not put something in so that it falls apart in 10 years from now. That's that all of us at our homes, we take care of our heating and cooling systems. We have a tech come out once a year, maintain it, make sure everything is working right. These are the things that we're doing with our systems that we have in our buildings now.
We could break that off into something separate. The intent was to wrap that all together into one plan, which again, the plan, per what we're talking about, will be ready to present over the next year, about a year from now, give or take.
Okay.
So that's kind of was the thought. We can certainly take that back if we want to break out maintenance into something else.
I'd like to see that maintenance start a little sooner, because I think your group has been together for about 2 years now. And then you put
Part-time.
another part-time,
Part-time.
whatever, you guys are still together for
Yeah.
2 years. And we're adding another year on to that. Now that's 3 years that we've added on to the life expectancy that has gone by.
Mm.
So there's some things we need to start getting a hold of and getting in there. You have a very capable group of people from the resumes that I've read.
Mhm.
We should be able to roll up our sleeves and inch our way along with some recommendations.
Can do. Keep in mind as well, I didn't really address the 2004 plan here. I can generally say that throughout all the buildings, excluding the schools, the funds that were to be allocated from 2004 until now total about $3 million in 2004 dollars. So substantial dollars have been, some things have been done, but not a lot. And DPW's done a good job trying to hold the fort together, if you will. Fix things when they break, not necessarily replace them, but fix them, duct tape, whatever. They're doing the best they can with what they have for dollars,
I certainly appreciate that, but I think it's time to remove the duct tape and the chewing gum and get down to brass tacks, where we actually repair and really maintain all of these assets that we have. When the schools were built, from what I understand from Dennis Roy, there was a litany of maintenance plans that was provided to him for all the different equipment that was installed. So you have a really good platform to start from. And the one thing that I would be very disappointed to know is that if we had such documents, why were we not acting on it?
I'll let DPW answer to that. I can tell you that the maintenance of those maintenance contracts most likely ran out after 5 to 10 years.
No, not maintenance contracts, but it was a document of said what maintenance needed to be done and when. So it was a maintenance schedule, I guess. would
For
be a
the,
better
for
term.
the, specifically the schools.
For the different equipment within the schools, like for example, the HVAC system. Certain components would last 3 years, so they recommend this motor be replaced and another part be replaced in 5 years, so on and so forth. Much like we do with our cars, piece by piece, we replace and maintain.
Yeah, I can meet with Andrew and extract that information and as a starting point.
Excellent, that's
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Chris?
I just want to thank you for the work you and your group have done. You've done a tremendous job. I know it's a tough position you're in to kind of look at property that's over 50 years old and try to bring them up to speed. I know the great work also Russ and his group has done with the library. And I know that's a piece, as my involvement with that is I want to make sure they're involved with what you're doing. And I know they have been in a very positive way. If the library, I hope, moves forward, that certainly will free up possibly some space right there, and that might be the first step into freeing up some of this space. I know the schools, when we left here and the school department left here, went down to the senior center, we were able to give some space back to the senior center. But I agree, I think if the schools could maybe move from there and then open up that senior center at one point to that space. So I think there's a lot of moving parts. I know you said 15 years out, but there's some within the next couple of years to start to free up some space and to execute
Yeah.
and to maximize our full potential right now.
And I think when I say 15 or 20 years out, that would be the kind of the completion date by the time everything's paid for, built, whatever. I don't want to say that we're going to start that process in 15. The intent is to really get going right away. Ultimately, a year from now, asking for the funds to then put that plan together. But that is the exact style transition, to a new building, whatever it is, wherever it is, and then you've got freed up space to repurpose.
Do you see that as a big part of your plan to free up space if the library were to go to another
Absolutely.
location?
Absolutely. And that would be, as you said, I won't say the first step because there are some other areas that are pretty critical.
With Tom about maintenance, I think that'd probably be the first step right there with maintenance, put that
Yeah.
schedule together. But then that first step with freeing up that second step, I think, or
A lot of it depends on the library and some of the funding
Yeah.
that's available. So when that funding comes through, this town should be ready to make a vote, yay, nay, for that, But that would certainly help free up some space. There's about 14,000 square feet in the library, and that's a lot of footage. That's a lot of footage.
Thank you.
Any questions in the audience here? Anybody? Well, Ted, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
All the hard work you guys are doing, and just let us know if there's anything else you need to move forward over the next 6 months. All right?
We will be in
Thank-
touch.
Thanks, pal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is to close our town meeting warrant. At this point, I'll take a motion.
Does this mean we can't modify the warrants, or just that we're not accepting any
We're not
additional?
accepting any new warrants at this point.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So at this point, we will not take any new warrants for the town meeting warrant, which is already at 32. So we'll have a nice, robust meeting. The next item will be referring articles to the planning board. Jim, do you have a description of what?
There are
what
two
we're doing?
additional zoning articles that the board needs to refer, number 25. And I believe the other one is 31. 31 actually came from the planning board. 25 came from some discussions with council and I about the limited business district. Thomas here to address that. I'll come and talk about that.
Mr. Chairman, members,
Hi, Tom.
just briefly, the limited business district is, the uses of it are defined in section 4.2 of our zoning bylaws. And it says this about office space. Business or professional office or bank provided that not more than 5 persons are regularly employed therein. That's usable, that's a use that's, you can make as of right in the limited business district. This definition came from 1966. So I'm very pleased to say I was in grad and can't be blamed for it. Among other things, you have to wonder, these 5 people, does that refer to a particular office in a building, or is it the whole building? You know, doesn't say. Are we talking about full-time employees, part-time employees, full-time equivalents? Doesn't say. Probably the best way of dealing with it, I would recommend, and I have drafted an article toward this end, is to just require a special permit for any use of this type that is not clearly as of right. And so what I've done is to provide that the Board of Appeals may grant a special permit for any business or professional office or bank wherein more than 5 persons are regularly employed. So if it's not clearly caught in the as of right definition with all its problems that I just read to you, then this proposed amendment would permit the ZBA by special permit to allow it.
Great. So this is just to affect the limited business districts throughout the town?
Just that.
Yeah, okay. Do we know how many businesses we're talking about? We have any idea what the overlay is for the amount of businesses?
Good idea, Jack?
There's 5 areas in the town, I don't know how many office buildings, at least 4 that I know.
Could you give us an example of a site, Jack, that you're referring to?
Well, the limited businesses are very small, the only one that,
Excuse me, Jack, can you just come up to the podium for a second so everyone can hear you? Thanks.
Aye. The only one that would stand out to everyone would be the Bridgewell property, which is on the corner of Route 1 at Broadway. Right now, it's probably 32,000 square feet. And technically, with that bylaw, they should only have 5 employees there, regularly employed, whatever that means.
Right, so, and what other areas in town are considered limited business?
There's one across the street. There's one down by South Linfield. And there's 2 other ones, I forget where they are. They're very small, very small.
Yeah. But the way it reads now is very limiting on employees, depending on how you, going by
Exactly.
Attorney Mullen, and how you interpret it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, not too many banks only have 5 employees. Not too many office buildings of 32,000 square feet have only 5 employees. You know? And like Tom says, does that mean, you know, Jack Roberto Construction has 5 employees, Phil Crawford Construction Company has 5 employees? It doesn't really say that.
So the idea is they can come in front of the ZBA and apply for a special permit, depending on what their anticipated employee count is,
That's right.
just to comply with the zoning.
Right.
Okay.
And the Board of Appeals would maintain complete jurisdiction over the property through the special permit.
Right.
And through the special permit, it also allows the residents or the neighbors to have a say
Right.
and be heard on what the special permit is, because they have to get notified.
Right.
Yeah, the abutters would be notified, just like a regular meeting.
And what's the second one you have here, Tom? Number 31, you said?
Article 31, Alan Dressiers is here from the planning board. These are definitions that the planning board wishes to stick into the zoning bylaw that they hadn't got set up. Really, definition of annual town meeting, special town meeting, and moving signs. They're actually just 3 definitions.
Okay, these came in the original group that we saw, Alan?
Part of the original groups, yes.
Yeah, this came, because I remember reading this before. So does this also require a public hearing or anything?
Yep.
Okay. So if we move these to the planning board, then they'll have a hearing on the 2 of these items? Okay, great. And can you hop up there quick, Alan? Do you believe these could both be taken care of before our town meeting deadline?
Yes, with no problem at all.
No problem? Great. All right, beautiful. Thank you.
Alan, if I could ask, why Are you bringing these up now?
Those were originally put in February 6th, but a lot of things have happened since then, so things got filed up. So
Okay.
we had the opportunity since the bylaw with the zoning board of appeals allowing over 5 employees came up. This was an opportunity to put the definitions back in again.
Okay.
Chris, any questions?
No.
No? So we have to make a formal motion to have those sent to the planning board for a hearing? Take a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you have anything more for me?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna have some questions with the articles when we get down to the planning board articles. So no one has ever explained them to us. We rushed them back to the planning board for discussion, and we never really had any discussion or full understanding of what it was that we're pushing back to the planning board to vote on. So in case Alan doesn't adequately explain it, I'd like to have your expertise available to explain, if you don't mind. And I think
If you want, I can jump forward to those now, because we're gonna go over the warrant articles now, the
Excellent.
recommendations. If we can, we'll jump forward to, 25? Okay, so 25 is the first one we're gonna send to them, assuming that gets through the planning board and, in good fashion, gets back to us. This will be on the warrant. I take a motion to, recommend Article 25.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Article 26. See, the town will vote to amend Section 7.4A entitled Additional Requirements for PWSF and the zoning bylaws.
Could you explain this, Alan?
Alan, you want to give us a little?
Let me just quickly give you a synopsis of all the articles that we're proposing to put in front of town meeting. There isn't anything substantially changing there. We haven't added things, subtracted things. We're trying to clarify things.
Alan, can you just go into the why of why we propose? Is this to change and clarify?
Okay, the first one, we're talking about 7.4A.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When we brought that to town meeting, we looked at the bylaw. This has to do with telecommunications. And there was a special permit under 7.4. We wanted to include these conditions under 7.4 if it was a telecommunication facility. Well, we didn't know what sections were there, so we called it 7.4A. If you follow a logical number, the way we number things, it should be 7.41. And we were just in a rush to do it and missed the fact that it should have been 1 and not A.
So this is a correction.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion to recommend Article 26.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
27's, again, a radio telecommunications facility, and you're just renumbering a subsection? Is that basically what you're doing?
Okay. Again, bylaw was in tough shape, and when we looked at the bylaw, there was an opening for the next section, which would be telecommunications, was 8.7.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, 8.7 already existed, but we hadn't updated the bylaw yet. So again, we put down the wrong number. It should be 8.8.
Okay. It's simple.
Mhm.
Take a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
28, again, we're looking at several changes here. Alan, you want to just go quickly over those?
Okay, those are all the internal reference numbers. I just don't have the bylaw in front of me. I think that's the internal reference numbers.
Section 4.8, section 8.4.
Okay. What's happened when we update the bylaws? It's sort of a lazy way of when you're writing a bylaw, you say, oh, see section such and such. Well, you really can't update bylaws like that, because you start doing it and you make changes later on, those such and such numbers you referenced are different. And you normally don't catch them, unless you go through the bylaw with a pen and mark every single thing, you're not gonna catch those references. So unless we have a software program that does documentation control and a person to do documentation control, which is super expensive, the way to avoid that is don't reference numbers. Reference the title of the chapter you're referring to. Instead of saying 8.7 medical marijuana, just say section medical marijuana. Now if you make a change to medical marijuana and call it section 8.9, you don't have to go back and find out that 8.7 and change it to 8.9. And a prime example was the one we just went over before that, the 8.7, the 8.8 follow-up. So we got rid of those numbers, and as you can see, there aren't that many of them in there. So we've been pretty good.
Alan, on the section 9.5, those have to get state approval first. Have those been sent to the state?
9.5 has been sent to the state. It was sent to the state beginning of March, the end of February, beginning of March. So there is a letter at DHCD asking for them to approve this.
And you anticipate you'll have that before
Yes.
April?
Yes.
If we don't have it by then, we'll just
We'll just move forward with it.
have to move it out without them? Yeah.
Okay, so I'd make a motion to recommend Article 28.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 29, is that much of the same?
What Article 29 does, it takes all the definitions in the bylaw and puts them in one section called definitions. So we're just consolidating everything out of the bylaw and putting it in one area called definitions. The town did pass some rules and regulations about how to interpret definitions. It said if a definition is not defined in the bylaw, then you use the building code. So those are laid out as town meeting had approved, but this clarifies it. So it really takes section 2, puts 4 requirements up front, and then takes all the definitions out of the bylaw and puts them in that one area. With the exception of any definition that doesn't belong as a generic definition to the bylaw. Prime case is the Water Protection District, where 1 acre is defined as 40,000 square feet, not 43 whatever. And those are specifically left where they should be, but everything else is just moved up into one area.
Okay, that makes sense. So I'll make a motion to recommend Article 29.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We got 30 and 31. Temporary, so we're gonna delete the temporary moratorium altogether?
Correct.
Okay.
We end up with nothing.
Okay.
That's an easy one.
So that doesn't mean permanent, it doesn't?
The temporary moratorium was long gone.
It expired, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd make a motion to recommend Article 30.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And 31 is the second one that's going back to the planning board now. The definitions here apply to our existing zoning requirements for new structures only?
No, this applies to everything.
This will apply to everything?
Right.
Even existing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Is this your effort on the
I
billboard?
know there are a couple of existing moving signs that are grandfathered in. So,
Well, there's signs at Market Street, but there's also signs along Route
There are
1,
there are 2 signs in
down
town
Salem Street.
that
yeah.
have moving parts, and they would be grandfathered in.
Okay.
Other than that, the answer is no. This would cover everything from now on.
But this is the protection against the billboard in South Linfield, anything
Hopefully.
similar to that?
Yes. What happened was that we investigated the word moving. It wasn't defined in our bylaw anywhere. We went to the state building code, and we didn't find it in the state building code. At least we didn't find it right in an obvious spot. We did research it, did look at it. The state building code's huge, and it keeps changing. My fear was that moving would, from the state building code, dump over to the laws, the state laws for billboards. And they've defined moving as anything that changes anything that changes in under 5 seconds is moving. If it's over 5 seconds, it's not moving. And that was not the desire of the board, to have something changing every 5 seconds. So this assures that it can't move every 5 seconds.
So A here says movement or moving. And this is a new definition.
Correct.
That we're adding. It says, as applied to signs, any visual elements that either change or alter in appearance whatsoever. And this applies to Route 1
Applies
and
to
everywhere else?
everything all over town.
Okay. So it's not really, you're not really targeting billboards, you're targeting any sign in any size of any type.
Correct.
It would not, as I understand it, would not apply to the PVD.
Well, it wouldn't apply to PVD, but it
Right.
would apply to
Anything else but the
Route 1
PVD.
development and anything along,
Right.
an area where you would expect.
Yeah, and
A sign.
I think you had the philosophy right. Anything with the PVDD, we have to do a separate bylaw on.
Right, right.
We can't do a generic one. That's out of the bylaw.
Are there any signs on Route 1 currently that,
Yes,
I mean,
that would be affected by that'd be grandfathered in
are
place.
they grandfathered now?
They're grandfathered now.
Right,
Would be when this is passed.
okay.
And that's the big Kelly sign,
Mhm.
and the other one that used to be at the Mexican
The
restaurant.
fat cactus, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Those-
that's going away, yeah, so,
Right. Those two are grandfathered in.
okay. I think it's very restrictive for a commercial business on Route 1 to be limited to any movement on the sign whatsoever. It seems to be counterproductive for a commercial business to have that kind of restriction.
Yeah.
It seems like we could, if you wanted to limit specific types of signs, I think we already have limitations for billboards. If you want to make that more limiting, you could define the sign that you want to limit,
Hey, let me say this. There's been a new federal court case on signs, and I don't know what it says. There's a number of courses on it. The Attorney General's office is doing a course in the end of March in Cambridge somewhere on the subject. And the other court chairman and myself, John Fario, want to look at the court case that the federal government handed down. So we may have to revamp our sign laws completely, depending upon where we stand. There's been warnings that we better come into compliance, because there are companies that will come in and actually sue the cities and towns for having invalid bylaws, even though they've been in the past. It's an area we have to look at.
Yeah.
So we may be back in the fall. I don't know at this point.
Well, you also are going to have a public hearing on it, so I'm sure you're going to allow folks to weigh in on it, where tonight they probably weren't aware we're going to talk about it.
Right.
So, I think that's important that you have that hearing, obviously.
And that's
But
what
I still
that's
think
what
it's
we have
very
it for.
restrictive for that small commercial business we get. We don't want to scare away the little bit that we can possibly get to help out the tax dollars here in town. So, other than that,
The issue right now, though, is if someone were to purchase a piece of land on Route 1 or the surrounding area, a billboard could go up. And we have nothing to fall back on right now.
Right, and we're looking at an electronic billboard that'd be changing every 5 seconds.
So then that is a problem.
I feel this may stop it. I don't know for sure.
Because how many locations do we know that they could possibly put a board up on Linfield property or Linfield town property or private property in Linfield that would affect the neighborhoods in that area?
I'm not sure of that answer
I imagine there's
either.
some opportunity there for developers to put billboards there.
Right.
were not there already restrictions in our bylaws, in our zoning, for billboards or something along that line?
You could argue that it's a height restriction,
Mhm.
that they can't make the billboards so high because of our zoning bylaws. There are special laws and rules for billboards.
Right.
So I'm not sure how the whole thing works. No one's come up and challenged us yet. I just don't know.
In October, I thought we passed some bylaws that addressed this.
We
Are
didn't
we
make
we
it.
still, that still wouldn't protect the area you're talking about?
We don't know.
Okay.
I think it may, but I'm not sure. And that, again, that's why this moving was thrown in here.
So,
We found that hole.
right.
I think I'd prefer to have the planning board weigh in on this before we make a recommendation or not, and just defer it to the meeting before town meeting?
Yeah.
You
fine
okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I move that we defer this to our next meeting.
Thank you.
All right. Tom, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate it. Luckily, you didn't have to get too much explanation.
Alan did a great job.
Yeah. All right, we'll start back at the beginning. Mr. Boudreau, would you like to go through them?
The first three articles, your stock, always on the agenda, always on the warrant articles. Article 1, reports of town officers and special committees. Article 2, to choose all town officers not required to be chosen by ballot, 3 field drivers, 1 pound keeper, and 3 wood measurers. And Article 3, to fix the compensation of each of the elective officers of the town as required by Chapter 41, Section 108.
So Article 3, that already has the dollar amount set in it, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'd make a motion to recommend Articles 1 through 3.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
All right?
Aye.
Article 4 will be deferred. That will be any transfers needed for the current fiscal year. We'll firm those up as we get closer. Obviously, one of the ones we've talked about is we know we need money for the buses. So that's all the transfers we do in the current fiscal year. Same with Article 5. As of right now, Chief Tetrell is here, but I believe we are on track with our EMS budget. Doesn't look like we'll need that. We're going to leave it there. Last year, we had a little bit of a shortfall at the end of the year, so we're going to leave that there just to be safe. But I'm fairly confident at this point we're not going to have to put any money into the EMS from retained earnings. Prior bills from a prior fiscal year, as the board knows, those take a vote. As of right now, I don't have any of those. We are looking, so that'll be a defer. Article 7 is the town budget, which we will be getting to after this. Article 8 is the capital budget, which we'll be discussing after this. Article 9 is put a sum of money into the town stabilization fund. I'm recommending $200,000 to go into the stabilization fund. Current balance is about 1.3 million. Article 10 is the capital facilities fund. I'm recommending $200,000 into that fund. That will bring it up to just over $1 million, I believe. Article 11, at this point, it's not my intention to move Article 11. We've moved this. This is transferring money into OPEB. We've put this in the budget, in the operating budget. I'll leave it there in case we feel we should put more in than what's in the operating budget, but right now I have recommended $200,000 in the operating budget to go into the OPEB trust fund. Article 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 are the statutory reauthorization of existing revolving funds. These are revenues collected by various departments that they can then spend. With the cap on what they can spend, we set the cap as part of the agenda, the consent agenda. By statute, they need to be reauthorized annually, otherwise they close out and the money goes to the general fund. Senior Center is Article 12. Board of Health, Flu Clinic, Article 13. Article 14 is the Library Revolving Fund. Article 15 is Recreation. Article 16 is the Fields Fund, which was set up last year.
So I had a question with Article 16.
Sure.
It's in here, we're mentioning, did I read this right? We're mentioning LRC and DPW managing the funds? So isn't LRC holding the money and then
It is-
dispersing it to DPW?
Funds will be spent by DPW,
Mm-hmm.
but right now those funds cannot be expended until they have a plan in place. That's what we
Okay.
talked about last year. Right now, what happens is Recreation collects the funds into their fund, and then they transfer it over into this fund. They don't expend it.
Okay.
But if you remember last year, there was an amendment made when we established this fund that no money would be expended until everybody agreed they had the maintenance plan in place, and that's something we're working on now. That prohibition remains, but you still have to reauthorize the fund, otherwise the monies that have been collected year to date will just wash back to the general fund. That fund will close out.
So the funds that all the parents are paying for their kids to play in the fields would get transferred back to the general
If
fund?
you don't reauthorize the article, the money goes back to the general fund, that's right.
Okay,
The revolving fund closes and the money goes to the general fund.
so I would make a motion to recommend Articles 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
I second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Article 17 is another revolving fund that we would set up, and this would be for the monies that we're collecting for the use of the Al Merit Center. The money would go into a revolving fund. That fund would actually be under the Department of Public Works because they're responsible for providing the custodial help down there. And that would be used to make any repairs, do any necessary cleaning, above and beyond what we're doing now with the part-time custodian that goes up there.
What about for the use of the facilities? Would that help defray any of the costs if
That's-
someone actually starts to use it?
Yeah, that's where the money would go to this fund.
Okay,
So if you wanted to have, your company wanted to rent it, you're an outside company, you'd pay the $200, $300 fee. Goes into this fund, and then if we need to hire, you make a mess, we have to have the custodian
Right.
back in. We pay for it out of this fund as opposed to out of operating budgets.
so what happens if I want to have the Tom Terran over hour? And I want to use the facilities for filming
That's
and
the cable side. This is
Mhm.
the Al Merit Center.
Okay.
That's the cable side, so that's separate.
not cable.
And we'd charge you a fortune for that.
Now, let's not get too aggressive. So I'd make a motion to recommend Article 17.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 18 is your EMS budget for fiscal 17. Estimated budget about 650, Chief, 660 for the EMS budget.
And that you're gonna get fully funded, right, Chief? Excellent. So I'd make a motion to recommend Article 18.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 19 is the Golf Enterprise Fund. We estimate this will be about $750,000 plus a capital item. Right now, Donnie is estimating if we get King Rail up and running, which he's hoping we have it up by April 1st. The only thing we need right down there right now is the telephone lines. We're estimating over $900,000 in revenue between the two courses. If we can get that up and running by April 1st, we're estimating at about $750,000 in expenses between the two courses.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 19.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just as an aside, that really nice Wednesday, Reedy Meadow did over $4,500 in business on that nice Wednesday. So I think King Rail's going to do a good business when we get it up and running. Article 20. Article 20 is the library article. To allow the library board of trustees to apply to the state for the grant and to spend those funds to move on to the next phase of the library project. Would that be accurate, Russ?
But they're using funds from where?
I don't believe there's any funds at all at this point. The funds they need, they already have.
So it's not town-provided funds?
This is to get in the queue for the next state grant, to get everything done. They already have the money for that, and get in, get the application in, and get in line for the next set of state grants.
Right, there are two parts to it worded together. The other is approving the schematic plan, conceptual plan, which will be on file as of Friday in the town clerk's office, for anybody who wants to come in and take a look at it.
And that's been part of the public hearings, Russ?
Pardon?
The public hearings, they've looked at that?
Yes,
I mean,
this has been presented in public hearings. This will just be on file for people to come in and take a look at.
Right, you need town meeting approval to move forward and apply for the grant.
Yes.
So this is in order to get the state money, as Tom has referred to, from us to maintain the money we're getting from the state. Excellent.
Yeah, the state has grant rounds for the library construction, and they come about every 5 or 6 years. So if we miss this grant round, we're off for 5 or 6 years before the next round comes up.
Well, I had a rather nice conversation with the library committee at the MMA meeting, and that timeline is much shorter than that. They're catching up to a lot of their projects,
Yeah, subject to appropriation.
So we could be on the fast track, so better have your running shoes on. So,
But the important thing, and Nancy and Holly know this probably better than I do, but to get in line for the funding again, we would need to redo work that we've already done if we don't apply at this time.
okay.
That's why it's important from a timing perspective to be eligible for accelerated funding.
It's also important for everyone to know that it's not committing the town to any future project. It's just applying for funds. So we can bring it back to the town at a later town meeting.
That's exactly
If the
right.
town is awarded the grant, then we have to come back and appropriate or approve our portion of the funding.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 21, Center Farm. Allow the Board of Selectmen to dispose of, sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of Center Farm.
So we have to go through a formal RFP process, put it out for bid. We've heard tonight we have a very strong and willing bidder. Somebody wants to fix it up, move his family into the house, lifelong resident of town. I think when we moved to get this under town ownership, this is the situation we were hoping for. So I believe this is, hopefully will get approved at town meeting. I think it's what we need to do, and according to CFAC and most other boards I've spoken to, they all agree that this is the best use of the property.
Yeah, we had a brief discussion of it at the last meeting, on what the cost would be if the town were to hold on to that property, and they get substantial in a hurry. Electrical, plumbing, and then really the big nut over there would be de-letting the property, and we would be required to de-let it to certain standards. And it would be, I think, prohibitively expensive. So this allows us to dispose of the property. I believe the appraisal last year was around $840,000. We've gotten in touch with the appraisal company to ask them just to update that. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot, and that sets the minimum bid that we can accept under the statute.
But we still will allow anybody to propose any leasing options they might have, right?
Well, my recommendation is going to be to dispose of it, to sell the property and get it off the town's hands. If you didn't learn anything from the CFAC presentation, something that becomes startling clear is the town is a very poor landlord and steward of its buildings. A building like that is going to cost substantial amounts of money to maintain, substantial amounts of money to run. Again, if we are leasing it, then we are going to be responsible for those lead paint abatement costs under the law that are hugely expensive, that a homeowner doesn't have to go through. I, as a homeowner, can buy a house with lead paint, and I can paint over the lead and encapsulate it. As a public entity, I have to take that lead off any mouthable surface below 5 feet. So every chair rail, every window frame, every door frame would have to be scraped, cleaned, de-leaded within, I think, 1.5 inches out. It is a huge process, and I've been in that house. There's a lot of beautiful molding, a lot of nice trim, all has to be de-leaded. So for the town to hold on to that, we end up holding on to the liability.
So before we could lease, it'd be about a $2 million investment the town would have in that property before we could do anything.
Well, that would be on top of the $1.4 million purchase price. The early estimates for the electrical and plumbing is in the $300,000 range. It's all knob and wire electricity. I'm sure it's all lead pipes for the plumbing. The de-leading, estimates $200,000-$400,000 to de-lead it. It's a huge building when you get inside of it. So that's on top of the $1.4 million the town has already spent. If we dispose of the building, you're getting $840 and change back from the building, and the difference between what we paid for it and what we get back is the cost of preserving it and taking away the ability of the new owner to subdivide it into different lots.
Now, the gentleman that was here, his representatives made it clear that the deed restriction that's on it is not such that he would buy it with that current restriction.
Yeah, we'll have to sit down with the deed restriction is required to be approved by the Historic Commission, the Board of Selectmen, and then it goes to the state. So we have the opportunity to sit down with the Historic Commission and try to hash out a more amenable restriction. It doesn't prevent this article from going forward, it just prevents us from selling it until that's in place.
What else? But the subdivision will still remain, the lack of the ability to subdivide that property.
Inability to subdivide the property is one of the
I know that was one of the
primary
big reasons we
concerns of the
grabbed
town.
that.
Also, to not substantially change or alter the appearance of the building or the appearance of the grounds. So the Historic Society had talked about using the barn as a function hall. We would have to put in parking. We would have to make it handicap accessible, which means that the cobblestone driveway most likely would be paved over. You'd have to put parking out front to access that. It would change the way that building looks, which is one of the reasons the town bought it, so that wouldn't happen. So the historic restriction would still maintain all those things. But if the board wanted, the Historic Commission wanted, we would back off the really don't touch anything unless you talk to us restrictions and make it more, if you want to replace the sill, that's fine. You want to replace the window, now someone's got to come over and talk to us.
I'd make a motion to recommend Article 21.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 22 is another issue that we've had, a long-standing past issue with contradictions between the town's 111F, which is injured on duty insurance for police officers and firefighters, and health insurance. The issue becomes when, in this particular case, the firefighter sustained an injury in the line of duty. He was taken to the hospital. He was treated for that injury. There were underlying symptoms. 111F pays for the treatment, not the symptoms. Even though the symptoms may have caused the injury, they don't deal with those. So if I have a blood clot in my arm and it causes my arm to go numb, I go to the hospital, they fix my arm, they won't pay to fix the blood clot because that was pre-existing. Health insurance won't pay for it because it happened on the job, and this is not an arm injury, I'm just using that as an example. So this is a call firefighter who is stuck with about $14,000 in bills because the workers' comp, in this case, police fire 111F workers' comp, is saying, no, we don't pay those, and the health insurance company is not paying them, and to top it off, that workers' comp company no longer is the town's workers' comp company, so I have no leverage to say, you gotta pay these bills, they're gone, they're done. Push came to shove and someone wanted to make a case for it, we would end up paying these bills. I think we have an obligation. It's the same thing we have with firefighter Diorio in the spring.
I agree. I think it's the right thing to do. I'll take a motion to approve Article 22.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 23 will be to appropriate a sum of money for the design, construction, furnishing, and equipment of a clubhouse at the King Rail Golf Course. We have an architect on board. We're hoping to have a nice little drawing and a cost estimate for town meeting. We're still estimating around $1 million for the clubhouse. The other work, the paving and the parking lot are unclear at this time, but we hope to have a good estimate for town meeting, and the architect is working on that. It's going to be in the 3,000 square foot range, small, a little clubhouse, a little snack bar and a deck, and then an underneath where they'll be able to store equipment and things like that.
It'll be set on the hill, so I can have that type of...
Well, the original plan was bringing in a substantial amount of fill to kind of raise the parking lot to do that. I'm asking the architect to take another look and see if we can do something different, because that's expensive. Not only is it expensive, but we're talking quite a bit of trucks bringing that fill in. But the plan is to have it 2 stories. The first floor would be the public space, and then the basement would be storage and equipment. If you go down there now, the trailer's down there, the golf carts are down there. We just need the phone line, and we can start playing some golf down there.
And what do we have for funds right now set aside for this?
This is going to come out of the sale of real estate fund. There's over $2 million in that fund right now, so there's plenty of money, and that was one of the stipulations, that money that was going into that fund would be used for recreation purposes, starting with the golf course.
I'll take a motion to approve Article 23.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 24 is the petition article that was discussed, I believe, at the last meeting from the Mothers Group for putting up a playground at Glen Meadow. They have provided me with a kind of a description and a drawing of what they're looking for. The cost estimate for that on a state contract is $175,000. If the board is so inclined to approve that, I would probably approve it in the neighborhood of $200,000. In case there's assorted site work or other things that we have to do down there that the contractor hasn't looked at. He just gave him a cost. All right, this is, if you want to go in and put up this playground, this is what it's going to cost. It's not site-specific to Glen Meadow, so I think we need to put some extra money in there in case there's some site issues that we have to deal with beyond what the contractor knows about. I hate to get the money and then say, geez, we can't afford it.
We're gonna take into account the funds that they've already raised as part of the article, or?
I wasn't planning on it.
Yeah.
I think those would be a little extra. They only have about, I think this is $6,000.
I think they had 9, and they're gonna do one more
Um,
big fundraiser before then.
Yeah, I thought it was 6, and they were hoping to raise a bunch of the next fundraiser. If they get a substantial amount before then I would take that into account.
Yeah.
But if they only had about $6,000, I'd say let's appropriate the money, and they can use that to do some of the extras around it.
Sure.
How much would this cost if we let them create the playground?
Which answer do you want?
Lower number.
For a private concern to do work is always going to be cheaper than to have a public concern do work. However, the Inspector General has ruled that if you're using town money on town property, it's a town project. So they wouldn't be able to, we can't give them the money and have them do it. There's even a question, if they raised all the money, whether it would be subject to the bid laws. I don't think it is, but someone could raise that question. But if it's our money, our site, we have to do it under the state bid laws.
Well, we looked into this when we were starting the Fields project, and if there's $1 of public money, it has to go out to bid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what has to be done.
I'll recommend Article 24.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Then the last one would be Article 32, which is to designate Chestnut Street, Essex Street, Lowell Street, Main Street, and Summer Street as scenic roads. I don't believe there's anybody, is anybody from Conservation, Bob? I don't believe there's anybody from Conservation here.
No?
Yeah.
Did they have the public hearing? They had their public hearing on this?
I
As far as we
don't
know?
know. I don't know if Conservation had it or
okay.
not. So you can defer that until we can find out whether they have it at the public hearing, if you like.
Yeah, I'd like to know how the
I'd
public
like to
hearing.
hear how that went.
Yeah, so we'll defer that till the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the warrant. There's probably at least, let's say, 8 articles that will go in a consent agenda. I think we'll have to have some conversations with the moderator. Some of those planning articles where they're very just technical changes in nature, maybe those could go into a consent agenda, but I think there's something we need to talk about.
Yeah, I'm looking at that too, and, Articles 1, 2, 3. Jim, if you look at Articles 1, 2, 3, you look at 12 through 16.
12 through 16, yep.
Yeah, and possibly, like you said, possibly those zoning articles that are just
Yeah, the issue with that would be it would change the,
basic changes.
it would change the vote required for the consent agenda from majority to 2/3.
Yep.
Because zoning articles require 2/3.
All right, so now we're gonna go over the town budget, both capital and operating. Jim, you wanna review that?
I think I discussed the operating budget ad nauseum at our last meeting. The board's had copies. Again, the big changes are in the fire department recommendation, where I have recommended the new staffing plan that the fire chief has requested. And in the school department, where they're at their 4.5%, including the full-day kindergarten.
Okay.
The only other big change, which I think the board already weighed in on, if you go through it line by line, you'll see there's probably a larger than normal increase in the salary of the recreation director. Based on the board's conversation with the recreation that evening, I have recommended that their request for the salary increases in the budget.
Well, that was voted on, right?
I don't think he actually took a vote, Tom, but you all were in favor of the higher numbers, so it's reflected in my numbers.
No, we didn't vote on it.
Yeah, you didn't actually take a vote.
We
on
never
it.
voted. No.
But you all,
To convert Julie from part-time to full-time?
Well, she's full-time now.
That was last
This-
year.
Yeah, this is just to increase her salary.
Oh,
And they had talked about increasing it over time, and the board's response was,
Do it now.
just do it. You know, all the work you're doing and the fact that it's completely underpaid compared to surrounding communities, so.
Yeah, they originally talked about doing it in 2 steps, and they said, why don't we just do it in 1
Yeah,
step?
so based upon that
Recommended.
conversation with the board, I included that in my,
I think she'll still remain
my
pretty much
recommendation.
underpaid compared to other communities.
Not to mention the amount of additional work she's taken on every year. That's, you know, whether it's anticipated or not, she's.
well, you saw it last year where we had to increase the amount of expenditure out of the revolving fund.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to do that again this year. That's entirely reflective of the amount of programs that they're offering. The more programs they have, the more money we have to expend, so that will go up again, I believe, substantially this year, the amount that they want authorized under the revolving funds.
So I had a couple of quick questions. The new growth,
Mhm.
historically, we're always undervalued for that number,
Mhm.
and now we're going down to 500,000. Is that a practical number, given that Market Street has a whole other building to be developed?
There's nothing in the pipeline for that building, Tom. If there were, there would be a number reflected in the growth, but they have not come in for permits, they have not come in for anything on that. And in my last discussions with them, it is not on the horizon right now. They're gonna be starting anytime in the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Wouldn't the building have to be started by July 1st for them to tax it?
Yeah, I always forget
Works.
that it's stuff from July 1st, I think, to January 1st.
Right.
And again, I've had conversations with them. They are not in the process of starting that at this point, so I wouldn't include, there's nothing new at Market Street that would go into new growth.
Jim, is there a reason for the delay or just a lack of desire?
The last time I talked to them, they were, trying to really decide what they wanted to do there in terms of a retail office mix. They have office space, square footage available. And I think they were hoping if it was going to be more towards office space, that they would have a tenant in mind as opposed to building it on spec. And that was probably 3 or 4 months ago when I talked to them.
Do you happen to know how much does the town earn from real estate taxes, personal property tax, and meals tax from Market Street?
From Market Street, I'd have to get that breakdown. Yeah, I'd have to get that breakdown.
Well, a lot of people keep asking. I think even
Yeah,
people-
I don't have the specific breakdown for what Market Street actually generates. I'd say probably 75% of your meals tax is going to be generated out of Market Street. And if you look at your pre-Market Street meals tax and where it's gone, most of that's coming out of Market Street.
Another concern of mine is the funding of OPEB. I know that this is a great start. You're bumping us up to $200,000 this year, but there seems to be a far cry to what a lot of the surrounding communities have in their OPEB fund.
Yeah, Linfield got a late start. I believe 2 years ago was the first time we put any money into OPEB. Some of the towns around here started before that. The only one that I'm aware of that's made a real, is actually making their OPEB arc is Wakefield. And what Wakefield did is when Wakefield switched to the GIC, they took all the savings in health insurance and they put it into their OPEB. So they are funding it. I believe at the time in Linfield, when that move was made, those funds were needed to maintain the budget, so they went into the budget as opposed to OPEB. So there are some towns that are around here that are ahead of us, but except for Wakefield, I don't know of any of them that are making their required contributions at this point.
So do you foresee any windfalls where we're gonna be able to do much more than 200,000, maybe get to 500,000?
I think we just start building it over time. And if we have a year where there's some extra money available, you build that line. And the reason I left the article in the town meeting warrant is, as we get closer to town meeting, we might say, well, let's take some of our free cash and actually do another bump this year. But I think just if you can show over time, Tom, that you're making an effort, I don't see us getting a huge windfall of cash anywhere in the near future. I know Wellesley's one of the only towns in the state that fully funds their retirement. They're at 100% of funding their retirement, so they took all their unfunded retirement liability and put that into OPEB. Plus, they did a $1 million override, operational override, and they put that $1 million into their OPEB.
Yeah, I think 200,000 is a pretty good contribution to that fund, especially when we start talking about having to set up some continuing maintenance funds, possibly in October. that we're gonna be looking at under the new CFAC plan. We gotta, you know, set up a priority system of what we're gonna do with some of this, these funds. And October's a good time to see what you have for additional funds at that time.
Yeah, and once we have that plan and we start funding on a regular basis, then we can actually talk to the state or Plymouth County actually has their own OPEB trust that they manage, as opposed to trying to manage it ourselves. And you guys know when you take it and put it in a bigger pot, it tends to do a little bit better. So the state actually has set up a fund where you can invest your money with the state.
And it's a higher return than where it is now, right?
Yeah.
I did notice that we got that reduction to the motor fuel.
Yep.
By 61,000, great. But I did notice there was a $202,000 increase to the school maintenance and buses.
Yeah, Andrew's here. That is one, and Andrew, just correct me if I'm wrong. One, the line has been historically underfunded, and two, there's an additional bus for next year. So we will be putting is about 150 this year, Andrew, that we're going to be short.
Yes.
Roughly, yeah, about 150 we're going to be short this year.
And how much is that always? So it's always historically short of 150,000?
I think the last couple of years, Andrew, we've had to put over 100,000 in it.
Over the last couple of years, the last 3 years, I believe it was 150, 155. This year, I think it's going to be at 175. And then this coming year, or next year, in addition to the shortfall, there's an additional bus.
There's an
that's been
additional
added.
bus.
What's the cost of a single bus, roughly?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Well, if we're looking
Last
at,
time I quoted it wrong, so I'm not.
if we're looking at
I'm not gonna do that
200,000,
again.
is 100 of it, half of it's a bus, or
Wait, say that again?
if you're looking at 200,000, is it half of that the bus, or is it more than half?
I think we were somewhere around 80 or 90 for the year for a bus.
For a bus, yeah,
Correct.
89, okay.
The drainage repairs, is that in the capital?
Capital.
So I don't have any
Anything
more
else?
questions.
Well, hold on a second, Pat.
I don't have any, no, Phil.
Okay. As far as the operating goes, you know, I've weighed in on this, you know, and the couple of things that I had an issue with was obviously the new fire department staffing plan and how we move forward with that. And there's you know, it's a sizable amount of money to be put in the fire department. I've spent most of the last 6 months looking at this, and on a pretty regular basis, I've talked to maybe 25 other towns, whether it be a fire chief or town administrator or whatever the position might be, and I also spoke to the 2009 study also spoke to the fact that if our on-call system was breaking down, that we should also look at the possibility of using a private ambulance. So I looked at that. I spoke to the ambulance companies. We looked at other towns that have private ambulance as opposed to our system. And what's glaringly obvious to me, and when you look at this kind of a track record for the years we've had it, is that the town of Linfield has saved millions of dollars with our on-call system. There's no question. And we're one of the few towns left in the state with the makeup of an on-call system that we have. Even other towns that have an on-call system don't have the participation that we get in this town. It's a culture that we have, and the last thing I'd like to do is to ever break that up, especially prematurely. The chief's told me there's been plenty of new recruits coming in. I believe we have 8 new recruits in the last year, Chief. Is that true? And you got new ones going in? Yeah.
In July,
Yeah, so we have some renewed energy coming in with some young people. If you went to a private ambulance, it would decimate the current system we have. You would, and looking at the cost savings as opposed to what we're doing now, there isn't any cost savings to a private ambulance. You still have the expense of sending a truck out with the ambulance, and you have our ongoing expenses of manning the stations. So there really is not any benefit to the town with that. It comes down, the big piece it comes down to is the final CBA that you're working on now, Jim. And you know, that was kind of my hang-up point. But we have several more discussion times and meetings with the unions between now and the final document gets signed. And we still have the leverage on the town side that until we do sign that, this new funding and staffing agreement doesn't go in place. So I don't have any doubt that the unions will work in a, in a mutual beneficial way to get this worked out. Even I know it may be long after town meeting, but hopefully it's a little quicker than the one we did 3 years ago. I know that fell apart and we had to go back with it. Drew, did you want to speak to this?
No.
No,
go
okay,
ahead.
okay.
I will, but
Yeah.
go ahead and finish.
So my, so after 6 months of looking at this, I believe we do have a definite need. You could obviously see from the CFAC, there's a need for some space modifications and maybe a new fire and police station in the future. But as far as the staffing goes, I believe there is an overburden on both our career and our on-call guys. We went from 400 calls 20 years ago to almost 2,000 this year. So there's there's an awful lot of burden put on these firefighters. And I do believe that the new staffing plan is a great step in remedying that situation. When we can finally nail down the CBA, I believe it'll work for everybody's benefit. So at this point, I will recommend moving forward on this. And it was really the only sticking point I had in the budget at this point. I think there's some other areas there that we can talk about, but I think that was the only thing I was sticking on. So at this point, I would move to recommend our current operating budget.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Drew?
If I may, real quick.
Sure.
Number one, I want to thank you guys for doing your due diligence. Obviously, we put a lot of time into this, as did you. The collective bargaining aspect of it, not to talk out of school, has already been a good working relationship with the new town administrator. And to be totally honest, having a goal in sight makes collective bargaining even easier. So I don't foresee any hang-ups on either side with this, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time and voting the way you did. The Linfield firefighters look forward to being able to better serve the community moving forward, building on the history that we have with the combination system. So, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Yes, Mrs. Campbell?
there's a public hearing on Wednesday, correct, on the
Ye-
budget?
Yes,
A joint meeting with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen?
correct.
Why not defer the vote on the budget until you've listened to the public first?
Because we don't have the time to do that between now and town meeting. We don't have a meeting there to vote on
So
this.
you're gonna be, regardless of what the public says, it's still going to town meeting the way it is?
Well, it's just a
All right.
recommendation, Pat, just like we
It's
do
a-
every
I
year.
have a lot of recommendations, but I save them for
Yeah.
public hearing.
We also had the meeting, the
This
last
is a
select,
public
and we had this public
Yes,
meeting.
but I've raised my hand about 4 times already, and I haven't gotten recognized, which is why I finally called your name. I don't have my recommendations here, but I will be ready with a lot of questions on Wednesday.
I hope you do.
And also, while Mr. Lafferty is here, I think it would be a good idea to ask why we need another bus. We had 11 buses not too long ago. We now have, 16? And now we're gonna have 17. The buses are running, they're not full of students. So I have to ask, are we purchasing a bus? Why? You sort of privatized the buses, and now you need another one again? Are we really getting that many more students in the schools?
Well, why don't you ask Mr. Lafferty why he's getting a
Yes, well,
bus? I'm
that's
sure he has a good reason.
why I at least wanted to mention this
Yeah.
while he's here, because he might not be here at the public hearing.
Thank you. Well, first of all, the request for the bus is a contracted bus. We are not purchasing the bus. We currently own 5 buses. We run 3 on a daily basis with 3 of our own bus drivers. The bus routes and the student population is determined by the school department and by the superintendent. We just provide what's requested.
Thank you.
Capital budget.
Capital budget. Total capital budget is $1,388,908. That includes borrowing for a new fire truck and for 3 items from DPW of $849. With a cash budget of $1,539,908. The budget that you received, the capital budget you received 2 weeks ago was $1,519,000.
Mm-hmm.
The budget reflected the right number, but I gave you capital budget like 10 instead of capital budget 23. So the $20,000 for the library, which I had funded with the septic system, not on your sheet, but it was counted in your totals for the budget. So the new one that you have reflects $20,000, and you requested $75,000 for the library septic. At this point, we're gonna do some more engineering to see if we can bring it across the street, whether it can go into the septic system over here. We're concerned if we put a septic system behind the library, then the little parking is there now is just gonna be a giant hump in the parking lot because it's gonna be a raised system given the groundwater levels. Also, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, to me anyways, to be designing a septic system for a building or a use that might not be there. I'm not totally up on septic uses, but if the library comes out of there and a different use goes in, like the school administration building, it may be a much smaller system that's required to handle that than what's required to handle the library. So, at this point, I'm recommending $20,000 for that, to continue the engineering to see if it's possible over here as opposed to having to put it across the street.
Do we know if there's any emergency there? Is there any thought that this is gonna fail?
And at this point, it's still working, right?
Well, depends on who you ask. Currently, it is functional, but we are consistently pumping it. There are some issues. The Board of Health is aware of issues with it along with us. It's not, currently, it will not last long-term. So if the town intends to own the building any long-term, we will have to do something.
Okay. Okay, and the best route right now is to look at whether to bring it over here or to rebuild the one that's on site?
The initial review, we looked at the site. We had a septic engineer come out, look at the site, come up with a conceptual design. The site is very restrictive, as Jim had indicated. So the Plan B option was possibly looking at the feasibility of tying it into the current system for the town hall building. So that was the intent of the additional funds, to see if that's even feasible before we go forward with any other concept.
Well, wasn't the on-site plan that if we did have to rebuild it on-site, the type of system you need to put in would take up 4 or 5 of the current parking spaces, which is only about 10 in total in the first place?
It would reside underneath the existing parking lot. It would impact a whole bunch of things. Drainage is an issue, possibly even parking on top of it is an issue, and then setbacks from the neighbor's property, in addition to the stream that's over there also.
Yeah, so if we hire a consultant, when do we might have a plan in place, particularly whether or not we could bring it over
I would
here?
think they'd be able to get it done in the summertime, and then if we needed to appropriate additional money to deal with it in the fall, we could do that.
Yeah, okay. Great, thanks, Andrew.
So I see we have a couple of drainage issues we're addressing, the Ledge Road.
Yep.
In Longbow.
I'm not recommending Longbow. Mr. Pitsey is here. I'd like to address the board on that. The 2 drainage ones that I'm addressing are the culvert design engineering on Fletcher Road, Midland Road. I believe that culvert is collapsed, Andrew.
Both of those are in failing conditions.
And then the Ledge Road drainage project, which the town has been working on for, since before I got here, is $80,000 to continue the engineering and work on that. That drainage project, right now, when that backs up, it impacts the entire population of Ledge Road. Ledge Road almost doesn't exist anymore in some places if you drive up it, where it washes away, and it impacts the vast majority of the houses on Canterbury Road.
What's the 80,000 gonna pay for at this point?
There's a lot of engineering there. This is a particularly difficult project. We've taken a look at the existing pipe. I don't want to go into too much detail, but the existing pipe goes in a lot of places where it's not supposed to go, under porches and too close to septic systems. We need to get the easements all lined up, Andrew. I'm not sure all those are lined up, or if the pipe is even in easements in some places. The pipe takes a real right-hand turn at one place, and I believe, speaking to Andrew, that pipe has come apart. So the water comes in and just kind of washes out on that corner. So this is, a lot of it's just engineering and getting all the legal documents in place so that we can then put in a new drainage system to take all that water. And it takes all the water from behind it, comes off that hill and comes down to a little tiny pipe at the end of Ledge Road, and then that overflows on a regular basis, and again, goes right down Ledge Road and then into the backyards of all the houses on Canterbury.
Yeah, it affects 2 streets.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So this is gonna be for the engineering, but as far as the actual project,
We don't even have an estimate of what the actual
Yeah.
project will be at this
we'll
point.
know that after this is spent.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And again, Tom had mentioned the Longbow Circle Drainage Project. Mr. Pitsy is here. He has asked to speak to the board. He's directly impacted by that. That was a $140,000 project. I have not recommended that at this point. I did speak to Mr. Pitsy on Friday and told him that, you know, I make a recommendation to you and you make a recommendation beyond that. So he has asked to come in, and if the board has some time, I'd like to give Mr. Pitsy the
Sure.
opportunity.
Mr. Pitsy, why don't you step up to the mic and introduce yourself? And
Yes, my name is James Pitsy. I live at 30 Lombo Circle, and I have been a resident of 30 Lombo Circle continuously for 30 years. And the reason why I stand before you today is that I would like to recommend funding for the Longbow Circle drainage problem. I've just heard about the problems on Ledge Road, but I've been dealing with a problem for 35 years myself at the intersection of Longbow Road and Longbow Circle. And I believe this problem was incepted at the time the development was developed. My house stands at the foot of Longbow Road. I'm at Longbow Circle. All the water comes down Longbow Road, Hunting Lane and Robin Road, and then it collects on Longbow Circle. As I said, it goes down Longbow Road, then it crests over my driveway, which also is an incline that goes down. So that floods my garage and my finished family room. And I have incidents here where this has happened. It's happened 3 times, some not as severe as others, since 7/28/14, which was very devastating for me. I brought this attention to the Department of Public Works many, many times, only until I had sent a registered letter to the department. This was before Mr. Lafferty. This was under Mr. Dennis Roy, that I finally got some response from somebody. I would go down there all the time, but I wouldn't hear anything back. So what the department has done, Mr. Lafferty, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that they've, I was told, I was at work, but they've provided visual inspections, and they had the Linden Engineering come and give their plan. I guess that was the same company that did the Ledge Road project.
Correct.
And I have the recommendations here. There are more than one recommendation to deal with basins. Let me see if I have it here. Yes, I do. The maximum gain for the minimum expense would be putting new oversized deep basins, 6 inches in diameter, a 48 by 48 inch rim, and new pipes between these catch basins. This would capture the water that comes down Longbow Road, as I said, from Robin Road and even Hunting Lane, and take care of it there and send it on its way so it won't be going down my driveway or into my garage and then basement. And as I said, a finished basement. I've had this problem before many, many times.
When's the last time you had a flooding?
The last flooding I had was 10/29/14. I had one 8/21/15. And perhaps you can talk to the Linfield Inspector of Wires, because he had come to my house to inspect something, and I had barriers right across my garage, and I had him to have to go around the house in order to approve the work that was being done on my house. He saw it firsthand. I mean, the street was all flooded. It was cresting over the driveway and going down my driveway and hitting the barriers.
And what was the cause of the street flooding and cresting? Was it because
Water,
the
water.
I understand it's water, but was it the existing catch basins were
No, they're
covered
clear.
with leaves or something? Or was
No,
it-
they
or it
are
just
never
couldn't take
covered
the-
with leaves. I can stand here unequivocally, and you can talk to anybody on Longbow Circle or Longbow Road,
Yeah.
and I am diligent in cleaning those drains. I am always out there. I have talked to DP workers constantly. I have letters. I sent you a group of the letters that I had
You did,
sent.
yeah.
And I've talked to many, many people. I'm always out there. The town doesn't clear leaves in the fall, and that's fine. That's of no consequence. That's how they do it. But I clear it myself, all the time, year-round. I did it this past weekend, a couple of days ago, because we were going to get snow. On 15 Longbow Road, there were some branches that fell into the street, and the Department of Public Works or whatever, whoever does the plowing, I don't know if it's Public Works or private, they couldn't get to that particular drain, which is fine, you know, the branches are broken or whatever. Well, I dug it out myself, as I've done many, many times before, because one more drain that will capture water is less of a chance for me to get flooding in my basement, my garage, and in my finished family room. I'm vigilant about this all the time, so it has nothing to do with leaves.
Okay, so it has to do with the pipes that are in the ground.
The pipes that are
and
in
their
the
ability to
ground.
carry the water away
And
from your
this
property.
is what Linden Engineering
Right.
has rectified. I was there, I talked to the person, Mr. Bill Jones. I was there one of the times when it was raining. And he had said, this is what will take care of the problem. I mean, there are other fixes, but this is the most reasonable fix.
Is this the 140,000
Yes.
that we're talking about? But that fixes the flooding issue that he might be having at his property.
Well, I think it would help the flooding issue for everybody in the area, because
Well,
a
who else
lot
in
of
the area
people
gets
have-
flooded?
Well, other people, like, even as I left, there are pumps that are going right now in that area.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very prone to flooding as a rule. But my driveway is the first driveway that it hits. As I said, I'm facing it. It's going downhill. My driveway is going downhill, so it's going to go down my driveway.
Sure. Andrew, you come up to the mic, please? Is this, this seems like a piece of a much bigger problem. Would that be accurate?
Correct. So Linden Engineering did a study. They did a review of the site. There's a host of issues up there. They had broken it down to a couple different things. A significant project of replacing the pipes because they are undersized and cannot handle the flow.
Right.
And then they recommended a second smaller project, which is the one that Mr. Pitsy's referring to, and the one we submitted at 140,000, which is installing 3 oversized, essentially holding tanks, for lack of a better word. I mean, they're technically catch basins, but all they're really doing is adding storage under the ground because there is no additional flow capacity left in the pipe.
Yeah.
So all we're really doing is just holding that just a little bit longer.
So what was the overall plan, if there was one, to fix the drainage in the entire area? I mean, I imagine.
To replace the entire line from, well, definitely from the Longbow Circle all the way out to the outfall behind Robin Road, and run it all the way up the hill. It was well over $1 million, and it clearly was not a feasible approach. There's a lot of issues down there in general. The pipe currently is very shallow. There's quite a few utilities, so there's a lot more to that project than just laying new pipe.
Right. But you would want to do the entire project to fix the problem, as opposed to, spot checking one spot, spot fixing one location?
You would, but it's such a significant problem, and I don't want to minimize Mr. Pitsy or anyone else's residents down there. I'm not aware of, and the town engineer is not aware of, additional residences that have significant flooding like Mr. Pitsy. There are quite a few residences that have some pumps that I'm aware of, and that's just from what we noticed. There's no database or listing of some pumps. But that in itself wouldn't be necessarily an indicator to sink $1 million plus to replace an entire drainage system.
And what's the DPW doing now to help mitigate some of the issues?
Right now, we're in essentially Band-Aid mode. I mean, we go out on any occasion when we know there's significant rainfall, we try and get out there and clear off any catch basin structures and keep it clear. Once fall comes, it's a struggle. If it's a storm that we're not on the ground already, if it's in the middle of the night, you know, that reaction time isn't always there. I will definitely admit Mr. Pitsy is very proactive about maintaining the catch basins out there. I know in the past, the DPW has also put sandbags in front of his driveway to help prevent any additional overflow. I don't believe we've done that since I've been here. We haven't seen the need on, at least at this point, or haven't had that problem yet, so.
Mr. Pitsy,
Well,
have you got a sump pump drainage system?
Oh, yes.
In your house?
As I said, I have done all that I can because the area is prone to flooding.
Right.
I have had somebody come in and put a French drain, and I have not one pumps, but two pumps. I had a reputable person that you'll see his name throughout the town, that had put in the French drain, and I have two sump pumps, and I said, 2 sump pumps. He says, it's best to have 2 to be very cautious. I have a battery backup. If it's groundwater, I know that is my responsibility, and I take care of it. But this isn't groundwater. This is water from the street that has sludge that collects with it. I had a severe case, 7/28 of 14, and Mr. Lafferty, I showed him pictures, and I welcomed them to come in and see the basement, which, by the way, my basement now, the furniture I have is on furniture dollies. And like you and the other Board of Selectmen are more than happy to come and look at it. That's how it's been since 7/28/14. And, you know, I have 60-pound Quickcrete tube sand that I get that I have to drag out. I mean, it's just an unfortunate situation, I know. And I know other people in the town have drainage problems, but I've been dealing with this drainage problem for 35 years. And I've been ignored for a good number of those years.
Pitsy, how does it now you drive? Because I think I drove by your house. I'll make sure I have the right home. Your driveway it descends down quick,
Right,
correct?
And I have a huge berm. I can barely get my car.
Yeah, I mean, my
over
first
the
reaction when I
driveway is
when I
like,
first got my first letter from Mr. Pitsy is put a berm in. And that was, I spoke to Tom about it, and Tom said, why don't you put a berm in? I went down there. If we make the berm any bigger, he's not gonna be able to get into his driveway
Get in my driveway.
unless we get him a truck. So that wasn't a solution either.
And you know, I'm not minimizing what the DPW does. The DPW has done a lot more now than it ever did in the past under previous people. And I want to take the time now to commend Mr. Richter, because when he was the interim director of the Department of Public Works, he was the one that initiated some work being done. Prior to that, I was ignored by the Department of Public Works in general. It's only after I submitted certified letters, of which I have a list of them here, that I finally got some response.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I cannot continue to do this. I mean, it just is not right. I know other people have drainage problems. I'm very interested in what happens in this town. I know we need a new library, we need this, we need that, and I'm all for that. But I think there are more than just some things. There should be, everything should be considered, and this should be one of them.
No, I think, and I don't disagree. I think
I
the
mean,
issue.
I've had people tell me before I got there
Yeah.
that you needed a rowboat to get by, to get through. It just collected there.
But the thing is,
This
I
is
know,
before all of us were probably there.
and when you speak to certainly other residents in Linfield have this same challenge. I know
I'm sure.
down
But
my,
other people have had challenges, and they've been directed, though.
yeah, the one, I know one.
Over the,
yeah.
like on Perry Ave, they've done something. On Edward Ave, they've done something. They did something on Mansfield.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done my homework on this. They've done things in other areas, but in 35 years, they haven't done anything on the intersection of Longbow Road and Longbow Circle, exactly where I live and where my house faces.
Is there any way of altering the flow of all of the water from going down towards your house by pitching the roads?
I
Well,
would
part
defer
of
to
the
you, Mr.
problem is actually regrading the road. That's one of the reasons why the why it's at $140,000. It's not just installing those structures, it's regrading the road in a couple areas to help keep the water in the gutter line so it does get into the catch basins. Because currently, right now, part of it flows down the road and it passes right by some of the catch basins further uphill. The intent would be to get the water into the pipe faster and sooner. The part of that problem is the pipe is full, it's not gonna matter. But whatever we can do to get additional water flow into those catch basins upstream would be a benefit.
So right now, what's our free cash balance?
$2.9 million.
And we're not using any of that anywhere else this current
Oh,
year?
no, you're using $1.1 million on the capital budget.
Okay.
You will use free cash of a couple $100,000 for the playground. That's where the money for the playground would come from free cash. And then you may or may not be dipping into your free cash to cover current year operating if we don't have enough money to move around within the budget. So you're talking at least $1.3 million, if not, in the neighborhood of $1.5 million in expending your free cash based upon the recommendations that you have currently.
We might want to put more money into OPEB in other areas in the budget, correct?
Mhm.
Well, regardless of that, this is
This needs to be
a
addressed.
Band-Aid approach to something that's a bigger problem.
Well, I don't know if what Linden Engineering suggested in part two was a Band-Aid approach. There was one,
'Cause
it
it
was
seems like
one
you have,
very
you're not,
expensive.
you're having flooding based on the existing drainage not being large enough. Unless you change the existing drainage, you're still gonna have the same problem, because you only have it when we have extreme flooding issues. It's not, you haven't had it for 2 years, so.
No,
or a
I
year and a
didn't
half.
say that. I
Oh,
didn't
oh.
say I hadn't had it in 2 years.
Well, you said the last time you had flooding was
all right,
October 14th.
Then I'll get right down to everything, okay? If this is how we're going to play it. Let's see. I had one in 7/28/14, which was a huge flooding. And I have pictures. I think I should show you the pictures. When you say flooding,
Stand over here, Mr. Pitts. We'll give
Andy,
it
how
to
many more residents, single residents, have this type of issue?
We have, I have at least 12 or 13 different areas that have similar issues.
Place focused on one resident?
No, most of them are a little more neighborhood oriented.
Yeah.
This is about a foot.
I understand that I am not the only one that has a problem in town, but I've been dealing with this problem for 35 years, and nothing has been done. I went to Shea Concrete, and they said that you could put a channel drain in front of the entire driveway. Again, this is just what they said. If you put a channel drain in front of the entire width of the driveway, and then put a 4-inch pipe into the manhole, that would take care of it. When Mr. Lafferty came, we had talked about it, and he felt as though that would just be a real Band-Aid, something very small to do. And at this point, after I saw this report by Linden Engineering, I tend to agree with that. Because they're going to put in they're proposing to put in 3 large sumps to start capturing the water. Even if the street floods a bit, at least it won't be going down my driveway into my garage and into my finished family room.
How much of this is just the groundwater itself?
No,
it's pretty,
most of it, there is not really groundwater because I have a French drain. I don't know what happens, I'm saying since I had the French drain, this has been a chronic problem. A chronic problem.
So what's the French drain doing when this is going on?
Well,
Just
the
pumping
French
full
drain,
time?
the French drain will take care of groundwater. I don't expect the town of Linfield to take care of groundwater that comes up. But I'm just talking about when water comes down Longbow Road and crests over my driveway, down my driveway and into my garage, and floods my whole lower level. What am I supposed to do?
So Andrew, what do you recommend as a solution here, to look at a full-scale project there to fix the entire, would that be?
Well, our recommendation was what Linden had recommended as the second alternative. uh, obviously.
have it right here if anybody needs to
Right,
look
which
at it.
included installing those 3 structures, and then they'd also recommended some other work further up the road, more small-scale work of moving some additional structures around to better capture the water further upstream. There's quite a few catch basins further upstream. It runs anywhere from 5 to 10 grand, or even more in some cases, to relocate some of those, depending on the condition of them.
Right.
And as the report had indicated, each one would have to be looked at individually, because they're all very different. Those were more of a smaller, long-term approach, in addition to their Plan B, I guess, for lack of a better word, the 3 large structures at the bottom.
Right. Right, but doesn't the report recommend the bigger picture be resolved?
They do, if the funding would be there for that, yes.
Yeah, because I think you gotta look at more than just one house. I think you gotta look at if there's a whole neighborhood that's being affected by drains that aren't, serving the neighborhood. I think we gotta look at the whole neighborhood and what we need to do to fix the whole drainage problem, not just a single property. Because it sounds to me like the $140,000 fix isn't gonna do it. Because you're not fixing the drainage problem.
Right, it's not a long-term solution
Right,
in that sense, correct.
Right. So, I think we gotta look at something.
It would reduce the frequency of the problem, but it wouldn't eliminate the problem.
Right,
It
right.
would still occur.
Do you think it would eliminate the situation during a high
They do that.
rain volume situation?
How much rain is coming, Tom? I don't know. I mean, again, it would reduce the frequency because you would have more storage, but it wouldn't eliminate it because you still would have a finite amount of storage. So if you got more rain than they could hold, it would fill up and it would overflow.
But even if we put in a bigger pipe to move the water, you still need to make sure these basins catch the water. So we're still doing something with that anyway.
Well,
To fix the problem, you're going all the way up the hills and redoing the entire drainage system for the entire
System. Right.
and then getting it down to where in front of Mr. Pittsey's house, it's gonna have to go into a bigger pipe to go out.
And that included running that pipe all the way out to the outfall and addressing the issue at the outfall, which has been, sediment has built up over time, and that area would have to be opened back up or dredged in some fashion so it could actually receive that additional flow.
So how much would that cost?
Well, that was part of that
was part of
overall
that,
plan that they were talking. The engineer didn't do a full-blown estimate, but it was well over $1 million if you're gonna look at that area. When you look at the report, they actually included a map of the drainage area, and it's a significant size area that's impacted up there.
Is that getting into conservation land?
That portion would, yes, where it outfalls.
And you'd have to get conservation approvals
Well,
for that.
conservation, yeah, it's a whole different.
Right, if that type of project went forward, there'd be definitely conservation involved.
I mean, if you're familiar with the area, there's several roads that all, at some point, end up going onto Longbow Road, and they go right down the hill, and Mr. Pittsey's house is right at the
I
bottom of the hill.
face it.
Yeah,
I face
unfortunately,
it.
you're at the end of the.
And not only do I face it, which would be, but I have a driveway that goes down.
Right. Yeah.
So it
So
just
once-
keeps
I'm
on
familiar
moving.
with those types of
When
driveways.
Once
it
the water
gains-
gets up
Yeah,
over,
you would sit there.
Yeah.
goes
Very
down.
familiar.
But when
I
it
had-
gains
I had a flooding problem at
momentum-
my house. My old
But do you
house.
have one now?
No, I moved. But, yeah, I don't know what the rest of the board feels, but I honestly can't recommend the smaller project. We gotta look at a bigger project
But I
for
don't
the
think
neighborhood.
I don't think it's that small a project, though.
Well, but it's
Three
just
basins,
resolving the issue with one
Why
house.
did they even submit it? Well, I mean, so in other words, one individual or one house isn't important.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Well-
I'd rather look at the picture that's gonna fix the whole neighborhood.
But, Mr. Lafferty, what did you say that would entail? According to this drainage report?
Well, I don't have the report in front of me, but
Well, I have it. I can
Yeah.
give you a copy.
you want me to read it verbatim?
No.
Everyone's actually seen a copy of this, so.
Well, I mean, questions are being asked, so.
Is there
I
a
mean,
chance
I just
that
think this middle thing, with the basins, would be a good idea.
Well, Mr.
They
Pizzi-
say they're in some communities, excuse me
Yeah.
for interrupting, but they put like what they call, it's like, almost like a large plastic trough, like they put it under a roadway to collect all the water until it can finally drain away. So, I mean,
These are-
this is an engineering
That's what
firm
this
that
is,
was
right?
hired by the
It's
town.
not plastic, these are big
Well,
concrete
whatever, it's just a
structures.
holding.
tanks.
they put
a
on the
holding
ground and,
tank.
and they,
These
they
are
just hold water.
well, very
They-
well oversized catch basins. They're
Huge catch basins,
6 to 8 feet deep. They would actually have a 4x4 grade on them. A standard grade is 2x2. So these would be much larger.
So those big grates be out in the middle of the street?
They would come all the way out 4 feet off the curb line in 3 locations. So, and that, one of the reasons for that was to alleviate any issue that possibly could have from leaf blockage or anything like that.
Right.
The quick summary of their recommendation. A complete resolution of the flooding problem would involve replacement of the main drainage system piping, regrading of the roadways and intersections, replacement of the system inlets, and adding drainage system inlets. Based on discussions with the Linfield DPW, this extensive renovation is not feasible given budget constraints.
Right.
That was their initial full-blown recommendation.
Sure.
But then maximum gain for the minimum expenditure is what we were discussing earlier.
Right.
Which I really think would help the problem considerably. It may even eliminate the problem, because it would capture it long enough that it wouldn't flood my driveway, and then eventually it would dissipate, it would go along its way. It supposedly, I understand that this water goes toward the end of, is it Robin Road, I believe? It comes down Longbow Circle, then it's supposed to take a left, and then it goes around in between 21 and 23 Longbow Circle, and then there's a lower area at the end of Robin Road, and that's where it collects. Now, I've been there, much water there, even when we have an awful lot of rain, so there must be some capacity, more capacity for water there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with that area. But, you know, I don't know my other board members.
Did they run a camera through the pipe?
Yes, the camera, all the pipes in that area were TV'd and all these structures were TV'd also.
All the way out to the outfall?
I can't be sure of that. I know prior to me starting, they had actually TV'd and cleaned that whole line all the way out to the outfall, but I don't
Yes,
believe.
it was from Sewer Tech in Rockland. This I got
Yeah,
from my
but
neighbor.
I don't believe we did it this
Yeah.
time because that was already done.
I don't think so.
That's a significant cost to do that, so.
But we don't
But
believe
you know,
that
I
they
know
pipe
everything
at
is a
this point.
significant cost, but when you have a problem like mine, I
Mhm.
mean,
It was
we
a
spend
significant
money
cost
on
to-
other
to
things. I mean, why can't
re-TV
we
the
spend
line,
money on this?
is what I meant.
Mr. Pizzi, I don't, I
We
don't,
have a lot of priorities that the
I know,
town
I know
administrator
you
has
have
to
a
deal
part,
with.
but as I said, I've been dealing with this for 35 years, and I
Yeah.
think it's a problem from the inception.
We have to rely on our hired officials here, and our town administrator and our DPW director. You know, our town administrator has to prioritize, you know, some of these projects, and
But you know, there are
and to
things
spend,
that.
to spend $140,000 to fix one house doesn't make any sense. Just to look
Yeah,
at
but you're
maybe.
saying one house. You don't know for a fact that it's not
Well,
one house.
you're the
That
only one
might-
that's bringing it up. but-
Right,
but-
because
but-
nobody wants to bring it up.
I
That's
understand,
why.
but
Because
but
nobody
we've got
wants
a
to.
report that shows that it can fix the issue amongst a whole neighborhood or two neighborhoods if we do the whole neighborhood, you know, and redo the piping, so no one ever has a problem. So if your neighbors do have an issue, we're gonna fix them all at once if we do the entire project, okay? It may not get done this year, but it's gotta be a priority for one of our larger capital projects, which we do. We do larger capital projects. It's not budgeted for
But
this
you're
year.
saying that this isn't feasible because it's just taking care of one house. As far as, that's what you think, it's just one
No, I
house.
say it's not fixing the problem.
I think it would fix the
Well,
problem.
it might
It would fix
mitigate
the-
some of your issues,
Right.
but it's not
But I
fixing the
think it
problem.
would mitigate the flooding area in
Well,
general.
not
I will.
according to the engineering report and what Mr. Lafferty has to say.
I just want to say another thing that's interesting too. It's like nothing has been done with my particular problem. But like on 12/2 of 2014, in front of 3 Longbow Circle, they had installed a large round sump
Mhm.
with a sewer cover on top of it. It was done by, I think, Zanelli, I have it here, Zanelli Excavating and Chappelle Tractor East. They did a 12-2, they came down, they dug it out, they put a new sump in, they put asphalt around it or whatever. Why wasn't my house considered for any kind of work being done there? This is a drain that isn't even part of a sewer.
I have no idea.
That was a catch basin that had collapsed, actually, and all we did
But
was
it doesn't
replace.
belong to a sewer system, from what I understand.
We're not talking sewer, we're talking drainage.
Drain, okay. Well, what I'm just saying is that you had the manpower and the people there, but yet my problem was ignored. But that particular situation was taken care of. So I have to have a collapsed
We
drain?
repair catch basins when they collapse. So that's
So
part of-
mine
part of
isn't
maintenance.
collapsed, but there's gotta be a problem somewhere along the line there.
If one of those catch basins in front of your property collapsed, we would repair it. But we wouldn't be replacing it with a oversized catch basin like what the plan has recommended or the engineer has recommended. Because that's well above a maintenance item.
Well, I just don't think the expenditure is that much for a town of this affluence. That's just how I feel.
Okay, I
And you know, I understand, you know, what Mr. Lafferty says, and I'm not saying anything against the Department of Public Works, but it's like one of these situations here. The rain was all night long. So I was there, it was in November. I was out there all night long. I was making sure that the drains were clear. I clear the drains, okay? I rake, but not all of my neighbors do. And when you have rain after rain, you're getting all the leaves coming down from every other person's gutter that hasn't raked. And I was clearing it, and still I got flooded.
Well,
So it isn't just, you know, the leaves, and I know they're vigilant, but the DPW isn't gonna be there all night long, but yet I'm expected to be there all night long, or I'm not expected to be there all night long, but then my basement's gonna flood.
mhm.
I mean, I just don't understand why this cannot be recommended.
Well, obviously have a town administrator that didn't make it a priority above some other items,
Well,
because
how can
we
I
have a
go
certain amount of
about-
money every year to
Right.
spend.
But how can I go about making it a priority?
Well,
I
think-
was told that if I came here and asked for a recommendation, now, what is going to happen? Now, what is the situation now? I asked for the recommendation for the money, whatever. Now what is going to happen?
What's gonna happen?
Yeah, what
We would ask the board if they would like to make a recommendation.
recommendation?
To
okay.
fund that project. That's what
Alright.
you're asking. You're asking us to make a recommendation to fund the project
Well,
above our other capital items, and whether or not we would make that a priority.
I was told by the administration, where I've been having this problem, that I was to stand before you and to recommend funding for the Lombo Circle Drainage
Mhm.
Project. That's what I'm doing. I'm asking for funding for the Lombo Circle Drainage Project.
I understand, okay. Do we have anyone on the board that would like to make that recommendation?
You know what, I would make that recommendation, because I don't think anybody should suffer because of
And it is suffering, believe me. It's suffering. Thank you.
because of the radius of the roads. I think we should be addressing problems, because if you're the one person that's here, we don't know what's going on with your neighbors. Maybe Phil would feel a little better if maybe you talked to some of your neighbors and they were to join you in coming back to the next selectmen
So
meeting.
I have to collect
to
my
discuss that.
neighbors and
I feel that this should be rectified. And
I
I
do,
think-
I
I
do
think
too,
this
but I don't think
project-
I don't think this is the solution.
I think with Tom, what you're saying is, I think I'd like to see, because this is a significant, I mean, $140,000, I understand what you're saying, we're an affluent community, but that's a significant amount of
But
money.
I've
Just
seen
can I
other
let, can
li-
Mr.
all right,
Pizzi,
go
can I
ahead,
just speak
go
for one
ahead,
second
go
here?
ahead.
And there's a number of items here that we're recommending, and there's some that we've left off that I wish we had included on that list, but we're not able to, because we only have so much money we can spend. I think what Tom is saying is, if you can bring your neighbors, and $140,000 is a step towards that $1 million. That's a good chunk of change. That's not a small amount of money. The one thing I want to hear from DPW, because I know down my street, there's someone on Fairview Avenue that every time it rains, she has a pond running right up to her house. And I think we owe it to, as Tom said, all of these residents to fix this issue, but we as a board have to prioritize. So I think if we could look into your neighborhood, see what the problem is, and if this is the type of money we want to spend towards a significant expenditure of the $1 million, that's something I think I would look into. But right now, I'm not able to recommend this for passage.
But has this person on Lombrow Road brought her problem to the town's attention?
Yes.
To the Department of Public Works for years and years and years, as I have?
Absolutely. She has.
So, would you, for the people that are watching at home that are on my street, what is it that you want the residents of my street to do? Because I have a very nice neighborhood, and I have very nice neighbors, and they're all very sympathetic, so I'm sure they'll be able to help me out on this. But what is it that you are expecting my neighbors to do in reference to this problem?
That we're solving a problem for multiple homes.
But what do you want them to do, though?
Come forward and explain
They
that
have to
us.
come forward and explain their individual problems, or that there's a problem in the area, period. There's a problem on Lombo Circle. I don't understand what you want.
I think what the board's asking, there are other neighbors that are impacted by this problem, that are getting their houses flooded by the lack of drainage capacity at the bottom of Longbow Road and Longbow Circle.
Well, there are only two other houses involved. At the end, there's two on Lombo Road and one on Lombo Circle.
So I think that's what you're asking, right?
Those other two neighbors.
I'd like more information on the problem.
Well, I guess if my only request for Tom is if you want to move this, would you specify this as an addition to what I've recommended, or you want me to?
In addition, take it from free cash.
Okay. As opposed to
Right.
cancel all the projects and get it
Right.
out of there.
Because there are other projects here that, I think we all have pet projects that we'd like to see done, and it's a
Well-
give and take, it's a balancing act. However, that
This
doesn't
isn't a pet
diminish.
project.
I'm sorry,
This
no,
is-
wait,
this isn't a
but,
pet project.
no, I'm just talking in general.
Oh, okay. All
That,
right.
there's all different situations that we all have projects that we'd like to see get done. I'm not diminishing your project at all, as a matter of fact. I think I'm supporting you,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to help you to gain the support of my fellow selectmen.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pittsy, thank you. We will certainly
So you,
keep it.
all right, I just want to be
We are not going to
familiar-
recommend it at this point,
Right,
no.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
right, so
I
thank you.
appreciate you listening to me.
I appreciate you coming
And I
forward.
appreciate the other town members for listening as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other items on capital?
I just had a few quick questions. The second EMC project, there's $250,000 that you're allotting. Is that the Wi-Fi, the network upgrade, and
Yep.
the EMC? Okay.
Yeah, that's the entire school technology request.
Yep.
I guess that was something that was agreed upon with the schools previously, that they would get 250 in technology upgrades, and they're just breaking it out what they're gonna do.
And then the zoning bylaw upgrade of 40,000.
Yeah, as you listen to Alan speaking tonight, there's all sorts of inconsistencies, and when you take something like your zoning bylaws and you make incremental changes over time, in the end, you get something that doesn't necessarily gel. Also, I'm a firm believer that you don't have to be an attorney to read your zoning bylaws, so I think that's something I also want to do, is clean it up and put it in some more layman's terms. But the effect of continually making small adjustments to your zoning bylaws, you end up with a zoning bylaw where things are in conflict with other parts of your zoning bylaw, and they want to clean all that stuff out.
See, we got a nice new fire engine coming.
Any more questions on capital? Any questions in the audience? No? I'll take a motion to approve the capital budget? Or
So
recommend the capital budget?
So moved, but do we need to wait to hear from Mr. Pizzi for the next meeting?
No. We're going to recommend for this budget.
Can it be postponed? What is the procedure?
Well, it wouldn't be on this budget. It would have to be for the October budget, would be the next one.
Not sure what you would
Well, I guess the point that I'm making is, we wanted to allow Mr. Pizzi a little time to do some more fact gathering with his neighbors to see if they were coming forward where this is maybe more of a widespread issue than just one home, in that maybe it's something that we can get in the plans, maybe not right away, but maybe, within 12 months or so.
We can do that later.
We do that for
Yeah,
October
you-
town
we do
meeting.
that for the
Do it
October
for
town meeting.
October town meeting, if you
Yeah.
have evidence that just is so overwhelming, you can make a
Mhm.
Yeah.
recommendation at the spring town meeting to amend the
Yeah.
capital budget.
Okay.
Okay, so
Can I
that's
just
possible.
ask one other question? It looks like this recommendation, this is not being recommended. Can this go forward, or does this die at this point? In other words, can it be recommended for another fiscal year?
Absolutely.
Yes,
you
oh,
can-
absolutely.
you can want it.
I mean, it doesn't,
That's what we're saying.
Doesn't
We-
just
we-
go away,
It's just for this town meeting.
It's basically, we've done the study. I think we're moving in the right direction. We've put the attention and the focus on that area. So I
Yes,
think
but-
that's, I know, there's a process we have to go through. I think the more information we can get and build the case to spend 140,000 or $1 million, I think we have to pull this information together for town meeting anyways. At this point, I think hopefully we can be able to do that.
as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, do you know, or does Mr. Lafferty know of any other situation, any other remedy? I think you had mentioned that, Mr. Terranova, too, that maybe if this can't be approved, if there is any other remedy that could be done that would be less costly. I mean, I certainly don't want to spend the town's money.
What
I
about
just
an
want
injector?
the alleviation.
Would an injector help push more water through that pipe quicker?
Absolutely, but that's a totally different type of
How
system.
much is that?
That wasn't part of the engineer's scope of work. It's not typical anyways.
How much is an injector, do you know?
There's a host of minor, smaller things that could be done.
Mhm.
We didn't submit in the capital budget in that fashion to do it that way. The recommendation was like I had mentioned earlier, to start addressing some of the other catch basins further upstream. But that could run, I mean, we could take the 140 and run with, or whatever number is put out there and start looking at those. But that doesn't mean you'd see any significant improvement necessarily. But it is part of the recommended approach, in addition to regrading some of the roads and so forth.
So, outside of Linden Engineering's suggestions,
Correct.
do you have any ideas on your own, or recommendations on your own, as to what could remedy the situation, or
That
help the situation?
Those were some of our recommendations up front. Their study confirmed some of our expectations, in addition to adding some other options, in quantifying, what level of storm this would really address, as compared to, whether it's a.
What kind of shape are the catch basins that are up there? Are they all cleaned out, or could they use
They,
some?
they are maintained or cleaned every year, and the lines have been jetted. Honestly, the lines don't need to be jetted. They get jetted almost every storm because of the major amount of water flow. They are in okay shape. They function. We don't have collapsing catch basins, but what they really need to be doing is moved into the gutter lines, or moved in a location where they're capturing the water, because the
But they're
water
not
is.
silting up, and we're not losing capacity because the catch basins are silting up, or,
No, we're not.
I mean, that's usually the easiest thing, is clean all the catch basins and make sure they're operating at capacity.
But Mr. Pizzi, we can take a look at a bigger picture
I
as
just
we
wanna
move
say-
along.
all right, I agree, but
Yeah.
can I just say one thing? I know that the catch basins are cleaned, they're cleaned every year, and the man is very diligent in cleaning, because I am there, and we make sure it's clean. But what I would like to ask Mr. Lafferty is, what about the idea of a French drain, not a French drain, a trench drain in front of my driveway, as they suggested at Shea Concrete? Would that wouldn't cost $140,000. What about doing something like that and seeing if that alleviates the problem? Because if that alleviates the problem so that it doesn't flood my garage and basement, then that'll be satisfactory to me.
Chairman.
Go ahead.
I don't believe that would actually address the issue. If you look at, their recommendation was to install 3 massive holding structures in the ground, because they already are saying the pipe is flowing at capacity. The pipe can't take any more water. So all the trench drain, at least from an engineering standpoint, is gonna do is, whatever the capacity of that trench drain is, it's gonna hold that capacity of water. Which is,
So in other words,
which is
the
not a whole
trough
lot.
of the trench drain, that's all
Right,
it's
which
gonna
is,
hold.
which is 1 foot by
Well, according
18,
to how
18 feet or
long.
whatever your
It said
your
it can be
driveway
made
is.
to any configuration, they had said.
What is
Right,
the
but
cost
it
of
won't
something
come
like
way
that?
out into the middle of the street.
What would be the cost of something like that?
Shea Concrete, I have the brochure
If you get it
here.
in the ground, it'd probably be somewhere around 10 grand.
The problem is, Chris,
installed.
the.
It would have to
the
be tied
drain
into
is-
the system.
It's catching the water.
It's just gonna overflow anyways.
It's putting it back into the
Right.
system that's already
Yeah.
overflowing.
Right.
So it's just, it's,
It's like throwing a
The
full
problem is
bucket
the
of
whole
water in a
system is
pool.
failing.
Yeah.
But again, you are, the water is in that little, the French drain.
Right, and that wasn't recommended by the engineer who evaluated it also. In addition to Mr. Rector, who looked at it also.
You think maybe you could talk to Mr. Richter to see if he can brainstorm and maybe come up with another idea?
We have talked to him, actually, he's been very involved in this discussion with the 3 of us, both me, him, and Mr. Pitsy, along with Linden Engineering. So we don't operate in a vacuum.
taking a look and see if maybe there's something.
I didn't say you operate in a vacuum, I'm asking you to seek alternatives.
Outside of,
Outside of what
our
Linden has
recommendations would be
proposed?
to go off the engineering guideline.
Okay.
Not to come up with something that doesn't make engineering sense. And that's kinda why we have the engineering study done.
But
There are-
that's not what I'm saying. I'm asking, is there any other alternative? It can't be just, this is what Linden says and this is the way it is. Doesn't work. My father was an engineer. I've gone through many projects listening to him, many meetings. So I have a little idea. There are always alternatives.
Correct. These appear to be the most
So I'm just asking
reasonable-
you to see if there's other alternatives. Maybe the strip drain with the big holding tank right beside it. I don't know, just something that you can, you can really think about. Now, obviously not right now, but something you can chew on over the next month or so and maybe come up with another idea. That's all I'm
I understand what
asking.
you're saying. We can talk tomorrow, I understand what Tom's saying.
Yeah, just see what other options might be available, okay?
I would just like to say in closing, I know you've kept your gentlemen, but Mr. Richter had said something about a drain, a cover for the drain. Maybe Mr. Lafferty knows about this. There are certain type of grate covers that you put that channel more water into the grate. They're like L vein or U vein or something like that. And they're made a certain way that as the water comes, it'll capture more water that goes over the drain.
There's a cascading grate that's referred to. Mass Highway uses them in some locations. They do help improve the water going into the grate, but most of the issues that we have there we'd have to first move the catch basin grate to start with, which is what we were talking about earlier. Moving the actual structure before we put the grate on, because if we put the grate on and the water's not even going over the grate, it won't go in.
Right.
Grates have been moved, though.
Some,
Mr. Richter
I believe
did
some of them have, yes.
4 of them, 2 on Lumbo Road and 2 on Robin Road, have been pushed out a little bit, hopefully to capture more water. And then there was talk, Mr. Richter had said talk about some sort of grate that
Yeah,
it
it's
channels
referred to
the
as a
water.
cascading
They
grate.
have a- Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can talk about all these other
Okay.
options afterwards. We have a lot of items to get onto tonight, so.
Thank
but,
you.
But I'm not
Thank
gonna,
you for your time.
we can keep talking about it afterwards, okay?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Pitsy, all right.
Thank you. So I'll make a motion to recommend Article 8.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so. Next item we have is the seasonal liquor licenses, which I believe are for our 2 golf courses.
Yep, Sagamore and Reedy Meadow.
I'll take a motion to approve the seasonal liquor license for Sagamore and Reedy Meadow golf courses.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You have something there to sign, Bob?
I do. This is the renewal document for the state. And these will have to be signed in the lower right. by the board.
the local licensing authority, please. Bless you.
So Jim, now we have the MEMA Mutual Aid Agreement for Public Works. You want to go over that for us?
It's why I actually asked Andrew to make sure he was here tonight to go over this. This is similar to what we do with police and fire. It just spells out some of the ways and means and how we would do mutual aid, what it entails. It's a pretty standard agreement. Again, it's what we do with police and fire.
Yes, Jim had mentioned, the mutual aid agreement for public works was actually put in place, or the law was put in place back in 2011. For whatever reasons, I'm not sure, the town of Linfield had never actually opted in as they're required to, like other mutual aids. So the request before you was to formalize that process, so we do opt in. Currently, there's informal agreements with local communities where there's mutual aid, but the formal agreement, like the other mutual aids, covers the town and the respective individuals for any formal event, both liability and everything else.
Do you have an informal agreement with a neighboring town that has a serious problem with their DPW department? Is it-
We have informal agreements with a lot of DPWs.
Okay.
So what is it that we're sharing? Staffing, plowing, buying products?
It's typically for emergency situations, but in some cases, obviously in the DPW world, there's also non-emergency situations, whether it's sharing of equipment or expertise or something along those lines. And personally, we've used it in the past where I have before, and it's been very helpful. If a piece of equipment is owned by a neighboring community that we don't own, that's an expensive piece that might work well for something we're doing, we're able to go use that and vice versa.
That's great. Any questions?
Is this all the towns around us are in this?
All the majority of towns around us are in it. There's a couple that are not, but just a quick rundown. Wakefield, Reading, North Reading, Middleton, Danvers, Winchester, Melrose, North Andover, Boxford, they're all part of this Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement.
Most of the towns. Okay. Take a motion to approve the mutual aid.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Andrew, thank you.
Thank you very much.
The signature of the chairman.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, we had kind of a sudden, unexpected resignation of our town accountant. I just want to read the letter that she wrote to the board, to the Board of Selectmen. It was with mixed feelings that I have to submit this letter of resignation. I have been honored that you have all selected me for the town accountant, assistant finance director position. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen personal circumstances, I am no longer able to fulfill my commitment to this position. Currently, family issues have arisen, and taking care of my family during this critical time is my utmost priority. During the short tenure, I have been lucky to work with many great people. I sincerely would like to thank Jim Boudreau for his patience, understanding, and compassion during this difficult period. I know that this letter is a bit of a short notice, but I respectfully request that my last day be March 18th. And obviously this was written well before now. I feel comforted knowing that Linfield will be in good hands with Julie McCarthy, and the accounting firm of Clifton Larson Allen will be assisting during the transition period while searching for your new town accountant. And she had said Julie McCarthy because Julie's been coming in on Fridays and helping out with the town. So I just want to wish Colleen the best, and I hope everything works out with her and her family. And Jim, what's the process now to move forward? Are we going to get something out?
Well, right now, Julie's gonna come in on Fridays and really help us get ready for town meeting, because she's familiar with our town meeting.
Mhm.
I've also hired a firm to do Monday, Wednesday, so we'll have someone here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We should have sufficient money between the two accounts, the salary accounts and the expense accounts, to cover that. I'll probably wait till a little bit closer to the beginning of April, maybe mid-April. Right now, there are 3 other town accountant searches going on. To try to jump in the middle of those would be problematic, I think. I'm gonna let those play out, and then probably mid-April I'll advertise for a new town accountant.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, when we hired her, I think we were all excited. I'd just like to point out that she was probably everything we thought she was gonna be, and more. And it's just unfortunate that really circumstances beyond her control make it so she can't continue.
Great. Okay, so next item, we have a public comment period. Anybody want to bring something up to the board? Mrs. Campbell?
Article 21, which addresses Center Farm. What we heard tonight from Attorney Dolan gives us, I think, the intent of the people at the special town meeting, which people showed up in droves at, was that we would be given a specific proposal for the use of Center Farm. What we have tonight is an unknown client that lives in Linfield, apparently. We don't know what the price is. We don't know if this person is qualified to buy, and I mean the public. I don't think we're going to be inclined to turn it all over to the Board of Selectmen on that basis, and that's all I want to say. I hope the people of Linfield that are interested in Center Farm will show up at town meeting on April 25th and let their voices be heard, because I don't think that's what the intent was at the special town meeting, that you're going to come forward with very, vague possibilities for the use of the farm. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Thank you. Okay. We're going to go through our town facility uses and some other items we have to get through before the session. So on the town, use of town facilities, we have a April 24th, girls softball car wash at South Fire. Make a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May 15th and 22nd, lacrosse car wash at South Fire. Take a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. They have the approval for, this is Autism Awareness Month for the month of April, from the 1st to the 30th. They're asking for blue lights to be placed on the common. I'll take a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Did they also want a banner with that? I believe- They
Yeah,
asked-
say a banner
I
there.
think it was in their letter, but it wasn't on the request. I also have July 23rd, Linfield Recreation Country Fest on the Common.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The Linfield Rotary Concerts on the Common. The dates of July 6th or 7th, 13th or 14th, 20th or 21st, 28th, I probably should say 29th. The second dates are the rain dates. A motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We have a one-day liquor license for the Taste of Market Street to benefit the Linfield Rotary Club. This came from Nancy Horn. I believe they're gonna be doing a champagne tasting at the Taste of Market Street on that day. And I believe, according to her paperwork, it's gonna get delivered that day, served that
Consumed that
day.
day.
So it's consumed that day, and it's be gone that day, so won't be sitting around. All right, so I have a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We have our minutes from January 25th. If you had a chance to review those? take a motion to approve the minutes of the 25th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Minutes of February 22nd.
That's it.
Any corrections, comments?
Nope.
No? Take a motion to approve the minutes of February 22nd.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We got the proclamations here for our new Eagle Scouts. It certainly is a testament to our scouting program in Linfield, the amount of Eagle Scouts that we produce in Linfield. We have 3 new Eagle Scouts coming forward this year. We have Andrew Walton, Andrew Robbins, and Nick Miller. We'll be filling out citations as we did, proclamations as we did last year for the I believe 6 Eagle Scouts last year, which is amazing that you can, that one town produces that many Eagles. It's great. And I think Tom and I both attended that last year. It was a wonderful ceremony. And you know, we got to thank not only the Scouts for all the hard work, but the Scout leaders and the parents who support them for that. So I'll be attending again this year and presenting these. Bob, can we get these put together as we did last year? Yeah, yeah. If you want me to read these quickly, or these are yeah. Yeah, I'll read the first one and just to give you an idea what it is. It says the Board of Selectmen is pleased to and proud to have been notified you have attained the high rank of Eagle Scout. Your adherence to the principles of scouting and the determination to expend the time and effort that this award entails is a tribute to you. Your actions also serve as an inspiration to your peers and to the townspeople. The middle, the body of the letter tells us what your Eagle project was. And at the bottom it says, to the Board of Selectmen extends its congratulations and good wishes, is extremely proud of you. The board fully supports endeavors of scouting and recognizes their importance in the development of young people who prove to be a credit to the town of Linfield. And that'll be signed by the Board of Selectmen, and I'll present that to each of the Eagles on their awards night, which is April 16th at the Center Congregational Church at 12:30. So congratulations, boys, and I look forward to that day. What else we got? All right, so now we're asked to go to executive session under General Laws, Chapter 30A, to discuss a collective bargaining strategy for which an open discussion may adversely affect the town's negotiating position.
My only point to the board, this is probably gonna take at least an hour. If you wanna come in early in the next meeting, we can do it at that meeting instead of staying late tonight. And in between, I'll give you an update on where we are with all the contracts, so maybe we can make it move along a little faster.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I mean, I'm here now, so.
It's up to you. I mean, I just soon get through with it now.
Go.
Yeah, wanna do it now?
Yeah.
You wanna do it
You
now?
okay, Chris?
Okay, we'll stay here. All right,
Wanna hang out for me?
so I'd
Wanna
like
stay for a
to,
little bit?
I'd like to take a roll call to go to executive session. Selectman Terranova,
Aye.
Selectman Barrett,
Aye.
and 3 ayes, I also. So we are now gonna head into executive session, so thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Good night.